Chapter 5209. After Yi Qing Luo steadied herself, she immediately stretched out her hand and pushed Zhu Wu Xian away as she looked towards the direction of the attack. In the spacious tunnel, about 20 teams suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Yi Qing Luo's gaze fell directly onto the leader of the team, Ji Rao. It was a woman dressed in a long, moon-white dress with an ethereal air about her. The woman's face was exquisite and could be considered a peerless beauty. Her beautiful eyes were filled with a cold glint and a bit of complacency. There was a feeling of looking down at Yi Qing Luo from a higher position, that kind of feeling of being high above. The lady's line of sight fell onto Yi Qing Luo and slowly fell onto the red-robed man behind her. Her red lips curled up, revealing a malicious smile. Just as he was about to say something, suddenly, her smile froze, and her expression darkened as she stared at Zhu Wuxin. The words that were on the tip of his tongue stopped. Yi Qing Luo frowned as she turned her head towards Zhu Wu Xian. The man's expression was calm, and it was impossible to tell whether he was happy or angry. She shifted her gaze to the woman again. He was still thinking about the relationship between Zhu Wuxin and Nu Rao. Hearing that woman's ridiculing tone, with a hint of disdain in her laughter, Feng Qing Luo, I thought you were really loyal to the Overlord. Taking advantage of the fact that His Majesty isn't here, you're here flirting with other women. She sneered. If the Overlord knew that you were meeting with a man in such a place, would the Overlord still love you so much? The woman's voice was clear and pleasant to the ears. However, it was not difficult to hear the jealousy in her tone. Clear dove. Yi Qing Luo's pink lips moved slightly as she called out the woman's name. Whether Xian will still pamper me, I don't know. Her smile grew even wider as she met the woman's provocative gaze and said word by word, but I know that you absolutely cannot enter Xian's eyes. Who else could it be other than Qing Ge? This clear pigeon was the one which Yi Qing Luo had snuck into the Palace of Gloom's secret underground chamber from the Jiang family's side when she was in God Realm. There, he met the woman. It seemed like his position in the Palace of Gloomy Darkness was not low. Most importantly, she had ulterior motives for Di Emotian, a so-called princess who belonged to an unknown force. She remembered when he was in the Palace of Darkness. She had poisoned the pigeon. Even Qing Ji's secret forces could not cure the poison. How could he be alive and kicking and run all the way here? Sure enough, a scourge lives for 1,000 years. Yi Qing Luo sized up those people behind Qing Ge with a gaze that was sizing them up. The newcomers all had an obvious totem on their bodies. They were the people that Qing Ge had brought with her. They were not people from the Palace of Darkness, but people who belonged to her faction. Clear pigeon. How'd he get here? What a coincidence. Just as she found the place where Huang Wuyo was sealed, he appeared with his men. Yi Qing Luo had a vague guess in her heart. Qing Ji's furious voice rang. Feng Qing Luo, the current you is suffering from both sides. Are you sure you want to anger this princess? When the words "this princess" came out of her mouth, Qing Ji's body suddenly released a strong pressure. That condescending and disdainful stance seemed to have already trampled Yi Qing Luo under his feet. Why are you here? Yi Qing Luo's expression was indifferent. That pair of long and narrow eyes were calm, without any fluctuations. Of course, she didn't expect Qing Ge to answer her directly. She only wanted to find out some information from Qing Ji's mouth. Chapter 5210. Qing Ge gave a gentle smile, but the jealousy in her eyes was unconcealable. The reason why I am here is naturally to follow you. Her tone was complacent, but the way she looked at Yi Qing Luo was filled with hatred. Why do you think I'm staying in the secluded palace? Why do you think the Overlord is in the secluded palace? No matter what, it's to find the real resting place of the mastermind of the secluded palace. Qing Ji's red lips curled up complacently as she looked at Yi Qing Luo's gaze, as though she was looking at a stray dog. Look at you. You've painstakingly come to the territory behind the scenes of the Palace of Darkness and finally managed to get close to the person behind the scenes. But now, Everything belongs to me. Yi Qing Luo's brows creased slightly as she listened to Qing Ji's words. Her heart had an ominous premonition. She had not opened her mouth. Qing Ge had already raised her cold and complacent smile as she interrupted her icily. You want to ask me, what do I want to do after finding the mastermind of the secluded palace, right? Her fingertips gently lifted a strand of hair which was hanging on her shoulder. That exquisite and beautiful face curled into a beautiful smile. But under that smile was a deep, vicious aura which made one shudder. I am from the Illusory clan. Illusory clan? Yi Qing Luo was dumbstruck. This was the first time she heard of this clan. Chu Wu Xian's brows drooped slightly as he looked at Yi Qing Luo calmly. The Illusory clan was a hidden clan 10,000 years ago, specializing in illusory arts and divination. Divination. Yi Qing Luo's brows twitched. Chu Wu Xian continued, and 10,000 years ago, the mastermind of the secluded palace was the revered, carefree Huang Wuyo. In an attempt to find out the meaning, to fight with the Tao, to dominate all living things. Hence, revered carefree went to look for the Illusory clan. Indeed, Yi Qing Luo's guess was settled as her brows creased slightly. Chu Wu Xian continued. The Illusory clan originally predicted the future and changed their fate, so they had to pay the same price. No one in the Illusory clan could live past 35 years old. Because of this, the Illusion tribe rarely do things like predicting the future and changing fate. When revered carefree sought out the Illusory tribe, naturally, he was rejected by them. When Zhu Wu Xian mentioned the history of the Illusion race, Qing Ji's expression darkened. There was no longer any pride or jealousy. Yi Qing Luo pursed her pink lips. Her voice was very low, and after the rejection, how could the high and mighty revered carefree allow someone to reject him? Zhu Wuxin's tone was still icy cold, but there was a hint of mockery in it. Yi Qing Luo subconsciously looked towards Zhu Wu Xian. However, there was not the slightest bit of emotion on the man's grave and stern face. His face was cold and emotionless. Chapter 52:11. Yi Qing Luo's eyelashes trembled slightly. This was also her mother's tragedy, her appearance. It was all because of this prophecy. As for Huang Wuyo, he had plotted so much, just for this prophecy, which Yi Qing Luo's pink lips curled into a cold arc as the ridicule in her eyes deepened. She should laugh at herself for being such a sacred and noble existence in the prophecy. Or should she laugh at Huang Wuyo for the so-called prophecy, sacrificed? But revered Wuyo didn't let the Illusory clan off just because he knew about the prophecy. Zhu Wu Xian's clear voice was heard again. After those ambitious people from the Illusory clan tried their best to help him, just to obtain a way to live forever. Zhu Wu Xian paused. Qing Ji's gentle voice continued. In order to protect this prophecy, only he alone knew about it, so he exterminated the Illusory clan. This was indeed something that Huang Wuyo would do. The Illusory clan lived. This prophecy would be known by others one day. Once the prophecy was known, the Emperor of God would be watched by countless people. How could he possibly tolerate any deviation in his plans? So the best way was kill anyone other than him who knew about this prophecy, which was to exterminate the Illusory clan. Qing Ji's eyes were burning with a raging flame. Her fingers clenched tightly as she looked at Yi Qing Luo with hatred and anger. I am from the Illusory clan. Our Illusory tribe was annihilated because of your father 10,000 years ago. When Huang Wuyo's clan was exterminated, the princess of the Illusory clan had to pay respects to their ancestors and had to guard the grave for 3 months. Along with them were dozens of followers from the Illusory clan, and it was this batch of people. They became the last bloodline of the Illusory clan. The princess used the Illusory clan's ability to find out about this matter. She swore to find Huang Wuyo and seek revenge for the Illusory clan. After 10,000 years, the people from the Illusory clan now, only them were left. and most of them were no longer pure bloodline of the illusory clan. Even the current princess of the illusory clan, Qinggu, was not pure bloodline of the illusory clan. Listening to everything about the illusory clan, Yiqing Luo's expression didn't have much fluctuation of emotions. She lifted her eyelids and looked at Qinggu. Firstly, that man, although he is my biological father, he is also my enemy. Secondly, although Huang Wuyo played a major role in the extermination of the Illusion clan, part of the reason was that the ancestors of the Illusion clan made a wrong move due to their obsession with longevity. She paused, her long and narrow eyes slightly raised. From your point of view, you think that it's Huang Wuyo's fault, my mother's fault, and mine. However, from my point of view, everything is the fault of the illusory race. Qing Ji's face turned ashen and her delicate face contorted. Our illusion tribe was annihilated by revered Wu Yu. Is this still our fault? Then, because of a prophecy from your illusion tribe, my mother was deceived by Huang Wuyo. In the end, for the sake of the world, she used her life to seal him. Isn't this all because of your illusory tribe? There was no right or wrong in this matter. It just depended on whose point of view one was standing on. Yiqing Luo's counter-question made Qing Ji's mouth move, but she couldn't spit out a single word of rebuttal. Her fists clenched even tighter as each of her fingers started to turn pale. Chapter 52:12. Yiqing Luo didn't pursue this topic any further. This answer was something that she would never be able to get. She pursed her lips and looked at Qinggu faintly. From the looks of it, our goal is the same. Who has the same goal as you? Qing Ji's expression was cold as her exquisite brows were filled with disgust. I don't intend to let you seal him. What do you mean? Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes. Qinggu snorted lightly as her fingertips played with her hair. Didn't revered Wu Yu want to complete the prophecy from 10,000 years ago? And get this, so he caused the death of our illusory clan? Her red lips curled sinisterly. If he wants to complete it, then I shall grant him his wish. But Qing Ji's face was distorted from laughter. I want to be above him and become his master. Listening to Qing Ji's words, Yiqing Luo felt that she had been driven crazy. To think that he could not think straight and wanted to dominate Huang Wuyo. Did Huang Wuyo look like that kind of person who could be manipulated by others? Don't think that I am crazy. Qinggu raised her chin as she gave an unusually strange smile. I am after all the princess of the illusory clan and the one with the highest innate talent. Her vision looked towards the stone cave where Huang Wuyo was sealed. As long as he still has the ambition to break the seal, I will use the illusory clan's illusory arts to control him, Qinggu said as she looked at Yiqing Luo complacently. Get up for me and my clansmen to be able to come here and gain the absolute advantage. It's all thanks to you. If I am able to succeed, I will definitely thank you properly and strive for. Her voice was low and cold. I'll leave your corpse intact. Looking at Qing Ji's crazed and twisted expression, Yiqing Luo's face didn't show any signs of anger. Her expression was like water as she looked at Qinggu indifferently. There wasn't much fluctuation of emotions in her long and narrow eyes, until Qing Ji's complacent and savage laughter stopped. Yiqing Luo's eyelids moved slightly as she glanced sideways at the man in red who had been silent all this while. In her eyes, the man's cold and handsome face was reflected. The contours of the side of his face seemed to be meticulously sculpted. The lines were cold and hard, and they emitted a coldness that made one's breath stop. Yiqing Luo's curly long eyelashes were like butterfly wings gently fanning. As she looked around, he could not see the emotions in her eyes. He only felt that the girl's pink lips were slightly curved, as if she was smiling, but also as if she was mocking him. The girl's gaze was too stubborn. He had no intention of hiding it at all. Being stared at, Chu Wuxin's grave and stern face turned slightly red. He looked up and met the girl's gaze. Just as he was about to speak, he heard the girl's cold voice call out his name, Zhu Wu Xen. The girl's voice was cold and emotionless. But not gambling gave Zhu Wuxin a very heavy pressure. Immediately afterward, the young lady's clear voice continued. You agree with Sister Qing Pigeon's actions, right? Her question was flat and emotionless. It sounded like a casual conversation. But in Zhu Wuxin's ears, it was like a clap of thunder exploding beside his ears. But he was only stunned for a moment. He calmly raised his eyes as his chilly gaze met with hers. When their eyes met, both parties had no intention to avoid each other. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled up as she didn't bother about Zhu Wuxin's act, as she tilted her head slightly and propped her chin up. Chapter 52:13. I seem to have asked an unnecessary question. She laughed softly. For the illusory clan to be able to appear here, it means that we already know the answer. She smiled as her gaze was fixed on Zhu Wu Xian. Since you agree with Sister Qing Ji's way of doing things, then I have nothing else to say. Zhu Wu Xian's face was facing Yiqing Luo. That pair of emotionless, icy, cold black eyes were surging with a silent wave. Yiqing Luo had no intention to bother about him. She didn't have any intention to ask any further. Instead, she used her actions to express her stand. She slowly moved her feet away from Zhu Wu Xian's side. She stood in between Zhu Wu Xian and Qing Ge as she looked left and right. Then her lips curled as her smile was calm. My motive is to completely seal Huang Wuyu here, or kill him. There was not the slightest fluctuation in her words, as though she was talking about something extremely normal. Since our motives are different, then, it's obvious that we are enemies. The young lady's gaze was as calm as water as it met with Zhu Wu Xian. Indeed, between us, we are ultimately enemies. Yiqing Luo. Zhu Wu Xian's tone was slightly anxious as he called out her name. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled as she raised her hand to stop Zhu Wu Xian's words. I understand, and I don't feel that you've made the wrong choice. She took a look at Zhu Wu Xian and then at Qing Ge. After all, you're also from the illusory clan. Zhu Wu Xian's eyelashes fluttered as his thin lips moved. In the end, he didn't reject her. But Qing Ji's complacent smile froze as she took a swift glance at Zhu Wu Xian and immediately frowned. Since when is he from the illusory clan? What's with your beard coat? Isn't it? Yiqing Luo's smile became even wider as her long and narrow eyes were frivolous as she looked at Zhu Wu Xian. Are you? Zhu Wu Xian's pupils contracted as the surging emotions in his eyes were about to spew out. Finally, his thin lips moved as he spat out a word. Yes. Yiqing Luo smiled, but that smile was filled with ridicule. Young matriarch, seeing that Zhu Wu Xian had actually admitted his identity, Qing Pigeon anxiously cried out. Hearing Qing Ji's greeting, Yiqing Luo's smile deepened. It seemed that Zhu Wuxin's status in the illusion race was not low. For the princess of the illusion clan to call him young master, Zhu Wuxin lifted his eyelids and looked coldly at Qing Ge. That gaze sent a chill down Qing Ji's spine. She swallowed the words she was about to say. Zhu Wu Xian's eyes calmly shifted onto Yiqing Luo. When his eyes met with Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes, his gaze was slightly evasive. But in the end, he still met Yiqing Luo's gaze firmly. He pursed his thin lips and said in a cold voice, I didn't want to hide it from you. Indeed, Yiqing Luo smiled. When you took the initiative to talk about the Mirage clan's past, it was already indirectly telling me your identity. 10,000 years ago, the Illusion clan was a hidden family. What was a hidden family? That was a clan that was hidden from the world, a clan that only existed in rumors or no rumors at all. There are details about how Huang Wuyo had sought out the Illusion tribe for a divination and how he had given a prophecy. Other than the people of the Illusion race, how could anyone else know? Zhu Wu Xian took the initiative to mention about the history of the Illusion clan. He was totally telling her that he was someone from the Illusion clan. Yiqing Luo linked everything together. He could roughly guess what was going on. Chapter 52:14. Zhu Wuxin looked at the mocking smile on the young girl's face. His cold and stern face became somewhat gloomy. He seemed to be hesitating about something. In the end, He wanted to say something, but stopped. Out of the thousands of words he wanted to say, he could only say one sentence. It was a very light and somewhat untenable refutation. I'm worried about you, it's true. Yiqing Luo nodded emotionlessly. I know. She didn't deny that Zhu Wu Xian was worried about her. She also didn't deny that Zhu Wu Xian didn't want her to be cared for, and absolutely believed it, even if it wasn't because of the illusory clan. When Zhu Wu Xian saw her in danger, he would follow her without any hesitation, stepping into this dangerous place. But there was a motive after all. These so-called concern and worry. They were no longer that pure. Perhaps this was the difference between Zhu Wu Xian and Di Emotian. The former had too many things on him. No matter what he did, any decision he made, there would definitely be a motive behind it. No matter what the original intention was, no matter if he had calculated or prepared for this decision, that was ultimately not pure. The latter was wholeheartedly, only for her. Even for her, he would not hesitate to destroy the world. Yiqing Luo lowered her eyelids, avoiding Zhu Wu Xian's surging black pupils. Now, let's rely on our own abilities. What else was Zhu Wu Xian thinking about? Qingge couldn't hold it in any longer. Young lord, don't forget about the blood feud between our illusory clan and revered Carefree. Don't forget about the country's hatred and family feud because of a woman. She clenched her fists tightly, as her eyes were filled with malevolent jealousy. Based on what? Based on what Feng Qing Luo, that woman, could have the Overlord's boundless love and Young Lord's love? Based on what? All the men revolve around her. Even if she was the descendant of the previous divine emperor, the new divine phoenix. Based on the Overlord and Young Lord status, it was impossible for them to pay attention to these. Qingge was jealous and twisted, as her eyes were filled with a thick black mist. Shut up. A cold and indifferent voice interrupted Qing Ji's rage and hatred. She suddenly met Zhu Wu Xian's eyes. She shuddered when she was stared at by those deep, dark, and frosty eyes. Zhu Wuxin said indifferently, "This young lord's matters are not for you to criticize. It's..." Qingge has crossed the line. Qing Ji's face paled as she knelt down. The dignity of a princess just now had vanished in an instant. Yiqing Luo was a little curious. Logically speaking, the princess of the Illusion Clan should be the person with the highest status in the Illusion Clan. Young Master Zhu Wuxin, what was going on? After Zhu Wu Xian warned the pigeon, he looked towards Yiqing Luo. His cold and stern face softened a little. His deep, black pupils, which were fixated on Yiqing Luo, were also tainted with a peculiar glint. I said, I won't do anything to hurt you. I also won't share your burden. His voice was a little soft, so soft that only the two of them could hear him. His fingers curled up slightly, as his fiery red robe floated with the wind. But I must take revenge for the Illusion Clan. I understand you very well. Yiqing Luo laughed lightly. Her emotions were indifferent, unable to tell whether she was happy or angry. She said very calmly, "This is just like how my mother used her life to seal Huang Wuyo and used her life in exchange for mine. To avenge my mother's death. I wonder how Huang Wuyo will deal with me once the seal on Huang Wuyo is released." Chapter 52:15. Even if it's to fulfill my mother's dying wish, I will absolutely not allow any of you to undo Huang Wuyo's seal. As she said that pair of narrow eyes flashed past a resolute and sharp cold glint. So you want to undo Huang Wuyo's seal? She kept her smile as her fingertips moved slightly and an enchanting red glow emerged from the glower flame fan. She placed the glower flame fan horizontally in front of her as she said word by word. Then, you have to get past me first. Zhu Wu Xian's body trembled slightly. His black eyes, which were like surging waves, looked deeply at the young girl. His thin lips moved slightly. You really want to force me to make a choice? If one listened carefully, one would be able to hear the trembling in his voice. Yiqing Luo's expression didn't have much change. As compared to Zhu Wu Xian's inner conflict, Yiqing Luo appeared very calm. I'm not forcing you to make a choice. But right from the start, our fate has already been decided. Yiqing Luo replied calmly. The feud between the country and family is more important than feelings. Zhu Wuxian went silent. After some time, he scoffed as his thin lips curled into a ridiculing arc. You're really considerate. Zhu Wuxian couldn't tell what he was feeling. Yiqing Luo's words were standing on his side, tried her best to soothe the uneasiness in his heart. Just hope. Was he going to be enemies with her? Just hope. The both of them would never be able to stand on the same parallel line. Their fate. Were they really destined to be enemies? Zhu Wuxian stared deeply at the young lady's gorgeous face as his 5 fingers by his side clenched into a fist. She didn't open her mouth to interrupt Zhu Wuxian's deep thoughts. Zhu Wuxian was carrying too much on his shoulders. On one side was his stubborn feelings. On the other side was his clan's hatred, no matter how unwilling she was to admit it. Huang Weiyu was her father, that was a fact. To Zhu Wuxian, she was considered as the daughter of his enemy. It wasn't that she wanted to make any decision for Zhu Wuxian. It wasn't that she wanted to force Zhu Wuxian to make a choice. But even if Zhu Wuxian's stubborn feelings towards her had surpassed the feud between the country and family, but Yiqing Luo was certain. Every day, he would live in remorse and self-blame for the Illusion clan. One day, he would blame her. Moreover, she could not respond to Zhu Wuxian's feelings. It was better to make a choice at this moment. Feelings were secondary. The most important thing was to bear the responsibility that he truly shouldered. Pushing Zhu Wuxian to become her enemy could perhaps be said to be extremely stupid. He was looking for trouble for himself. But in her heart, Zhu Wuxian could be considered a friend that she acknowledged. If not for the joke of fate between them, if not for Zhu Wuxian's obsession with her, perhaps they could also become close friends. However, there was no maybe in everything. Young master, Qing Ji's anxious voice broke the tension between the two of them. We need to break this formation as soon as possible and cast the illusion curse on revered Carefree. After being warned by Zhu Wuxian just now, Qingge spoke very carefully. Young master, don't forget why we're here. This is our illusory tribe's only chance. He had missed this one. The illusory tribe's blood feud could no longer be appeased. Zhu Wuxian clenched his fists tightly as the muscles on his body tensed up. Young master, I absolutely cannot watch you. Regret in the future. A cold and hard voice rang from the illusory tribe's group. Chapter 52:16. Following that, she saw that man dressed in a black robe, embroidered with a huge illusory clan totem, charging towards Yiqing Luo. That person had a lot of momentum. The long sword swept past with a biting cold, killing intent. Even if young master reprimands this subordinate will still do the same. That voice carried a taut, austere, and firm determination. In front of Yiqing Luo, a sharp silver light flashed past. She dodged to one side. The devouring flame fan on his fingertip quickly spread out, shooting out a ray of profound light. The black light was like a phantom, blocking the man's attack. She quickly leaped into the air and steadied herself. The man's sword pressed down again. All of this happened in an instant. Phantom 3. Zhu Wuxian's expression froze. His eyes were filled with frost as he spat out 2 words coldly. That person who rushed towards Yiqing Luo and crossed hands with her. It was the secret chamber which Yiqing Luo had previously stayed in, which was also the secret base of the secluded palace in the God Realm. He had seen him before, the man called Huan 3. They were Qing Ji's people from the illusion race. Young master, Huan San is right. He's just trying to wake you up. Another woman rushed forward and blocked Zhu Wuxian's path. Young master, if you can't bear to do it, then let Huan 3 do it. Think about our illusion clan. Think about how we were massacred 10,000 years ago. Yiqing Luo remembered that the lady was called Huan Luo, Qing Ji's personal maid. At this moment, Huan Luo had a fearless expression on his face. Today is the illusion tribe's only chance for revenge. I hope young master can reconsider. Get lost. Zhu Wuxian's eyes were dark and ruthless. His usually cold and emotionless face was now filled with killing intent. He seemed to be resisting the urge to snap Huan Luo's neck. Huan Luo took a deep breath and suppressed the fear in her heart. She stubbornly refused to give way. In this short period of time, suddenly there was a loud bang. The heavy object landed on the stone wall, and the sound of it landing on the ground made the two of them look in the direction of the sound. Gravel flew everywhere. The black-clothed man was lying on the ground. His originally cold and unyielding aura also weakened a lot. He lay on the ground and moved his hands. However, his entire body was in pain, and he couldn't move at all. Phantom 3. Huan Luo cried out in alarm. Her tone was filled with disbelief. When he heard someone being flung away, Huan Luo had thought that Feng Qing Luo, who had seduced their young master's soul, had been subdued by Huan San. But he never thought that the person who would be sent flying would be Huan 3. Moreover, Huan 3's injuries weren't light. She immediately turned around and flew towards Huan 3. Zhu Wuxin saw clearly that it was Huan 3. She couldn't tell if she was relieved or if she felt her heart tighten. His face, which was as cold as cast, did not show the slightest emotion. A man who was never good at expressing his emotions. At this moment, the tumbling thoughts in his heart had already made his mind a mess, and he had no energy to think. His cold black eyes looked towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. He watched as the girl's skirt fluttered in the air like a peach blossom. They watched as the girl slowly closed the glowing flame fan and stood at the entrance of the cave, looking at them expressionlessly. There was not a hint of reluctance in her long and narrow eyes. That woman was really heartless. Zhu Wuxian slowly walked towards Yi Qing Luo. The flame robe fluttered as he walked. He walked step by step until he was right in front of Yi Qing Luo. The group of people from the Illusion clan looked at Zhu Wuxian anxiously. They totally couldn't guess what their young master wanted to do. Chapter 52:17. Yi Qing Luo looked at Zhu Wuxian expressionlessly as he walked towards her. After that, she watched him standing in front of her. Her pink lips rose. Young Patriarch Zhu, are you going to take action personally? Yi Qing Luo, I really don't want to become like this with you. His voice was filled with sorrow. Yi Qing Luo smiled. Our fate is like this. You have your responsibilities, and I have mine. She said it in an open-minded manner, as though she had long expected this ending. Zhu Wuxian's gaze stared deeply at her as he slowly shook his head. No, if it was DMO Xian, you definitely wouldn't be so calm. If it was DMO Xian, how could Yi Qing Luo possibly stand on the opposite side of DMO Xian? If it was DMO Xian, how could Yi Qing Luo possibly have such an indifferent attitude? After Chu Wuxin said these words, Chu Wuxin's eyes widened. That calm and indifferent young lady's eyes rippled slightly. The smile on her lips vanished as she met Zhu Wuxian's gaze. Her look made Zhu Wuxian lower his eyes as he burst out laughing. Indeed so. Yes. His words had just opened his mouth. On that side, a young lady's clear voice was heard. Yi Qing Luo met Zhu Wuxian's gaze and had no intention to avoid it. If it was Xian standing in your position, I indeed cannot do it. To let him choose national hatred and family enmity. Yi Qing Luo tilted her head as she smiled calmly. Call me selfish or heartless. To me, he is mine, so he should be with me. Of course, she could not possibly force DMO Xian to give up the responsibility he was carrying for her. She would try her best to think of compromise. When Zhu Wuxian heard that, a disappointed look flashed past his eyes. His thin lips twitched in self-ridicule. He obviously knew the outcome long ago, but he had to hear it from Yi Qing Luo's own mouth. So what if he heard it from her own mouth? He still wasn't able to give up. Zhu Wuxian, the young lady opposite him, had a clear voice and her tone was very indifferent. Calling his name, there wasn't much fluctuation in her emotions. You are you. Xian is Xian. You don't have to compare yourself with Xian. She continued. Although it's cruel, I still want to tell you that you and Xian mean different things to me, so there's nothing to compare. He is the man I love, the future husband I have decided on. So, no matter what, I will not stand on the opposite side of Xian. Zhu Wuxin laughed again. He had always been indifferent, but this laugh was so deep that it made people's hair stand on end. You're really cruel. His voice was low and hoarse, full of ridicule and chilliness, telling me about your feelings for DMO Xian in front of me. Do you think I don't have any feelings and don't know how to be jealous? Not really. Yi Qing Luo's tone was distant. I'm just stating the facts, of course. I also want you to dispel your obsession with me. Zhu Wuxin raised his eyebrows slightly, and the flames on his robe fluttered. A gust of warm wind headed towards Yi Qing Luo's face. He wasn't aggressive at all, but when that warm wind approached Yi Qing Luo's face, it was merely a finger's distance away. Suddenly, it collided with a beam of red light. Two beams of profound light. After they collided in midair, rippled a shallow, profound wave. It also blocked off Zhu Wuxin's warm wind. Zhu Wuxin fixed his eyes on Yi Qing Luo, who didn't move at all, as he suddenly laughed. Looks like you indeed. Have your guard up against me. Chapter 52:18. After all, I've been tricked a few times. How could I possibly not learn? Yi Qing Luo gave a fake smile as her pink lips twitched as she looked expressionlessly in front of her. The visible warm wind, profound wave, dissipated in the air. Faintly, she could smell a faint medicinal fragrance in the air. The same trick, young Patriarch Chu has played it a little too many times. She smiled. Don't tell me young Patriarch Chu thinks that after you've grasped my trust towards you, you can do whatever you want. Zhu Wuxian remained silent, not saying a single word, looking at the young lady's sweet smile, but her eyes and brows were filled with a tinge of coldness. Especially that pair of slightly curved eyes, there wasn't a single bit of emotion, as though she was looking at a stranger. That kind of alienation, that kind of coldness. He was very clear that his earlier actions had already angered Yi Qing Luo. But if he could do it again, he would still do it. To make Yi Qing Luo lose consciousness temporarily. He would make use of this opportunity to settle the clan extermination feud with Huang Wuyo 10,000 years ago. By then, it wouldn't be too late for him to help Yi Qing Luo and Feng Ge take revenge. That was what he thought, and so he did it. But he had not expected that the current Yi Qing Luo was already on guard against him. The medicine had yet to reach Yi Qing Luo. It had already been isolated by Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo. Zhu Wuxian remained silent for a long time. As he slowly opened his mouth, he called out Yi Qing Luo's name. That pair of cold black eyes were burning as he looked at the young lady without blinking. Actually, we don't need to do this. His voice was very calm. In the end, what we're asking for is merely revered worryless life. After our plan is completed, we'll kill revered worryless to fulfill your wish. Isn't that great? No matter what, Huang Wuyo was going to die. This was merely a matter of time. Why did the both of them have to stand on opposing sides? Young Patriarch Chu's idea is good, but Yi Qing Luo's pink lips curved. Her gaze was calm, as her words were sharp. On what basis does young Patriarch Chu think that I will agree to let you help me take revenge? She sneered, as her tone was filled with ridicule. Moreover, whether your illusory clan's plan can be completed is really uncertain. After all, he is revered carefree. After you guys undid Huang Wuyo's seal, you were annihilated by Huang Wuyo. Aren't you just looking for trouble for me? The girl's words were simply an open and frank statement of fact. Zhu Wuxin clenched his fists and said in a deep voice, just because you said that I am your friend. So, young Master Chu, do you think that friends should unconditionally accommodate you? Yi Qing Luo laughed. The enmity of exterminating your clan is an enmity, but the enmity of him ruining my mother's life and ruining my entire life isn't an enmity? Yi Qing Luo smiled as the expression on her face turned silent and solemn. Most importantly, My mother's last wish was to seal Huang Wuyo. Zhu Wuxin fell silent again. He wanted to refute, but on seeing Yi Qing Luo's cold and indifferent eyes, he couldn't even spit out half a word. A long time passed. He gave a low chuckle. You're so heartless, but unfortunately, I'm still unable to bear any resentment towards you. His eyes were slightly cold, as his low and slow voice seemed even more oppressive in the midst of suppression. There was a tinge of bitterness as it seeped into his heart. Then, as you wish, these 4 words were said. Zhu Wuxin's surroundings suddenly swept up 10,000 layers of hurricanes. Chapter 52:19. Like a hot knife through butter, the terrifying burst of profound rays instantly drowned Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo could feel it. He didn't show any mercy. The profound qi waves stirred in the air were like a raging tide, forming wave after wave of huge waves. Yi Qing Luo raised her glower flame fan and swiftly entered the battle to retaliate. Just as she wished. For the sake of family feud, he stood on the opposite side of her. Yi Qing Luo wanted to. This wasn't what she wished for. It was fate. Both parties had their own responsibilities. After all, they had to fight in order to achieve their goals. But Yi Qing Luo didn't intend to explain any further to Zhu Wu Xian. The two of them exchanged blows swiftly, causing the entire tunnel to be filled with deafening explosions. Gravel flew everywhere as dust billowed. After Qing Ge checked that Huan Xin only had external injuries and it wasn't life-threatening, she handed him over to the Illusion Clan's people to watch over. She raised her eyes, and her sinister, beautiful eyes stared intently at that pink figure in the midst of the exchange. Her beautiful face flickered with a cold light of jealousy. Qing Ji's slender fingers clenched into fists as her heart was filled with resentment. That slut, she actually pretended to be elegant and refined in front of young lord. What thinking for young lord? Asking young lord to pay attention to family feud. How could young lord forget about the blood feud of the Illusion Clan's extermination? How could he possibly give up? Did she really think that by retreating, young lord would really feel sorry for her and give up on the blood feud? What a joke. Look, wasn't young lord going to kill her now? Probably. Feng Qing Luo was about to die of regret. She probably didn't expect young lord to really take action. She really hoped that young lord would kill her. He wanted her to disappear from this world forever and ever. Do you want Feng Qing Luo to disappear? Suddenly, a gloomy and treacherous voice entered his ears. Who? Qing Ji's expression congealed as she looked around alertly. But other than the Illusion Clan's people, there was no one else. Huan Luo saw Qing Ge looking around and hurriedly asked, Princess, what's the matter? Didn't you hear? Qing Ge frowned and was about to ask. But when he saw Huan Luo's worried expression, he didn't have any other strange expressions. The words that were on the tip of his tongue stopped. Could it be that she was the only one who heard that voice just now? Do you want to kill Feng Qing Luo with your own hands? That voice rang once again. This time, it replayed clearly in her mind. Qing Ying looked at Huan Luo. When she heard this voice, Huan Luo's expression didn't change. She was still looking at her worriedly. The clear pigeon would be able to confirm. No one but she could hear the voice. She lowered her eyes and hid her thoughts. She shook her head at Huan Luo. I'm fine. I'm just a little worried about the young master. Huan Luo said, Young master's strength is definitely above Sister Feng. Young master can definitely subdue Sister Feng. Unless young master couldn't bear to do it. Of course, Huan Luo did not dare to say this in front of Qing Ge. They had followed the young master for many years. He was very clear about young lord's feelings towards Feng Qing Luo. So even now, they didn't choose to surround Feng Qing Luo. This was not only because he was confident in the young master's strength. Mainly if they made a move. No matter what the ending was, young lord would definitely blame it on them. Young lord's wrath was something they couldn't afford. Qing Ge casually replied with a few sentences. She then looked at the battle arena and fell silent. Chapter 52:20. It looked as though she was worried about Zhu Wu Xian. But in fact, she was secretly responding to that voice in her heart. Who are you? What do you mean by this? That voice could indeed hear what she was thinking. Very quickly, it gave a reply. The dignified princess of the Illusion clan. After 10,000 years, you should be leading the Illusion clan to build a new home and become the supreme Empress. That sinister voice was hoarse and ear-piercing. But when it fell into Qing Ji's ears, it carried an inexplicable bewitchment. Her heart skipped a few beats. Do you know why you can't defeat Feng Qing Luo? That voice, just as it stirred up her inner emotions, it suddenly poured a bucket of cold water on her. Qing Ji's gaze suddenly turned cold. That voice continued, because her status is noble. She is the bloodline of the divine phoenix, the most noble woman in the god realm. Because she is the chosen phoenix lady, the chosen one. If no one stops her, she can even step on all the worlds under her control. She will be the only one. As the voice spoke, every sentence fell. The expression on Qing Ji's face became sinister and terrifying again. That tightly clenched fist, the slender fingernails embedded into the flesh of her palm, but she didn't feel it at all. And you obviously have the noble bloodline of the Illusion clan's princess, so enviable, making people offer treasures with both hands, kneel down to beg for your power. But you ended up in such a miserable state. You are the Illusion clan's last direct bloodline Illusion clan princess. Obviously, you can also stand above thousands of people, stepping on countless of heads, watching those people fight for you until their heads bleed. That voice was low and hoarse, stirring up people's hearts. Every word, every sentence was like a needle piercing into the deepest part of Qing Ji's heart. It was as if he had dug out all of her wounds, dripping with blood. The darkest thoughts in her heart. There was nowhere to hide. That voice, if Feng Qing Luo disappeared from this world, if Qing Ji's heart, bit by bit, sped up. Her slender white hands clenched again. Her breathing was a little rushed because of nervousness or excitement. That pair of beautiful eyes gradually became gloomy and ruthless. If Feng Qing Luo disappeared, then the so-called Phoenix Maiden candidate would no longer exist. Feng Qing Luo had no way to flaunt her prowess in front of her, so there was no way to seduce his majesty and young master. And she will, because of your identity as the princess of the Illusion race, you will become the target that countless profound practitioners will try to recruit. You will be the queen of the illusory tribe and rule the world. The voice laughed sinisterly. His smile was sinister and bewitching. Qing Ji's fingers gripped her sleeves tightly. You are revered carefree, she asked tentatively. However, he received a definite answer from the other party. Yes. What is your purpose? After Qing Ge got the answer, her first reaction was not to be alarmed, but her heart was beating even faster, because she knew and understood just how strong was this revered carefree from 10,000 years ago. If he could make Feng Qing Luo disappear from his world. So what if he cooperated with the devil? Anyway, she had a way to deal with Huang Wuyo. TSK, TSK, TSK. Huang Wuyo laughed sinisterly. That laughter made one's hair stand. This seat, and you, make a deal. Chapter 52:21. The light in Qing Ji's eyes grew brighter. His heart was pounding. However, there was not the slightest hint of vigilance or danger. All he felt was the excitement and thrill of making a deal with the devil. Feng Qing Luo is your daughter. Are you willing to let this princess kill her? Although Qing Ge was agitated, but her intelligence was still there. Huang Wuyo laughed mockingly. The meaning of her existence is that she is nothing more than a tool that I can use. She can be discarded at any time. TSK. She's so pitiful. Although Qing Pigeon said so, her tone was full of schadenfreude. Look, so what if that bitch is the Phoenix Maiden? Wasn't it because someone didn't like her? Wasn't it because he couldn't get everyone's love? Qing Ji's eyes were filled with excitement and malice. She grinned and said, "Can you really let me kill her with my own hands?" "I can guarantee that," Huang Wuyo replied with a chuckle. Qing Ji's jade-like fingers clenched tightly. Her face twisted into a hideous smile, making her look like a Rakshasa. "What do you need my help with?" Huang Wuyo let out a sinister laugh. The soft and ethereal laughter that lingered in one's ears like a devil's voice shook Qing Ji's heart. "Don't be nervous. I just hope that you can help me with something." Yiqing Luo and Zhu Wu Xian's exchange of blows had already caused the entire underground tunnel to shake till it was as though the God Emperor's tomb was about to collapse. But under the violent shaking, the ground shook again and again. The top was still as solid as a rock. As for the ground, other than a few pieces of gravel flying up, there were no cracks at all. This place, it was really sturdy. Yiqing Luo and Zhu Wu Xian exchanged blows once again, and after both parties retreated, her long and narrow eyes squinted coldly without blinking. The profound waves colliding in the air gently rippled, forming layers upon layers of ripples. After the collision, there was a loud bang in the private room. Yiqing Luo stood close to the wall, her fingertips lightly touching the stone wall behind her, looking at the scattered gravel. Chu Wuxin didn't really want to kill her at all. He didn't want to fight to the death with her. His attacks seemed ruthless. Every move was swift and fierce. However, there was not the slightest hint of killing intent. The fight went on like this. He was afraid that even if he exhausted all of his energy, he might not be able to determine the victor. Most importantly, this was Huang Wuyo's territory. Once her or Zhu Wu Xian's strength was exhausted due to their mutual attacks, when they finally had no combat strength left, what if Huang Wuyo suddenly appeared and caused trouble? After all, they weren't the only ones in the tunnel. There was also an unknown number of undead puppets. Behind Zhu Wuxin, there was a group of people from the illusion race who could protect her. What about her? Because of the grudge between her and Qing Ge, it was already good enough that Qing Ge did not take the opportunity to stab her. Perhaps Zhu Wuxin's plan was to exhaust her strength and take the opportunity to trap her. Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed slightly, like ripples of ice. A wisp of dim light flashed past. She abruptly raised the glowing flame fan in her hand. Her pink lips moved slightly as she coldly spat out, "Zhu Wuxin, I don't have the time to waste with you." His fingertips flicked. The wind blades from the glowing flame fan surged like a tide, like a lady scattering flowers, spreading out in all directions. Her pink lips carried a hint of ridicule. "I'm not sure how long Huang Wuyo's current state can last. Are you sure you want to have a fearless struggle with me here?" Chapter 52-22. The current situation. Firstly, Huang Wuyo had consumed some poisonous energy, which was why he had become so weak. But in order to enter the place where Huang Wuyo was sealed, she had set up an ancient forbidden array. She and Zhu Wu Xian were wasting time here. If they found a way to resolve the poison in Huang Wuyo's body, it wouldn't be so easy to poison him the next time. Furthermore, that ancient forbidden array sounded so complicated from name. If it was solved, it would be even more complicated. There was no need to waste time here. Since you know this, why don't you listen to my arrangements obediently? Zhu Wu Xian didn't launch another attack, but stood not too far away from Yiqing Luo as he looked at her deeply. That pair of deep cold eyes was filled with tranquil darkness. Yiqing Luo's pink lips rose slightly as her slender fingers, which were holding the glower flame fan, moved casually. She caught a glimpse of Zhu Wu Xian's gaze and swiftly shifted to the direction of her fingertips. Yiqing Luo laughed lightly. "This is your wishful thinking. It's not within the scope of my plan, so why should I listen to your arrangements?" She paused as her gaze fell onto her own fingers as she smiled sweetly. "Moreover, between the both of us, we have a huge amount of suspicion and distrust towards each other. So why must we force ourselves to stand on the same line?" Zhu Wu Xian's eyes congealed slightly. He and Yiqing Luo were in a battle. The glower flame fan, was Yiqing Luo's main weapon. The minute she moved the glower flame fan, his body's conditioned reflex had already made the most intuitive judgment. He looked at Yiqing Luo's hand alertly, in case she suddenly made a move. This was normal, but he had no way to refute Yiqing Luo's words. It was indeed so. There was no real trust between him and Yiqing Luo. He would instinctively be on guard against her. Just like her suspicions towards him, she had long been on guard against him. These two people, if they really stood on the same line, they would probably be even more exhausted physically and mentally. But unfortunately, even so, he still wanted to keep Yiqing Luo by his side, to let her belong to him alone forever. Zhu Wu Xian, you're lenient towards me, but doesn't mean that. I will be merciful. Suddenly, the girl's clear and melodious voice sounded, as cold as water. Immediately after, the girl who was originally carelessly caressing the gourd flame fan suddenly made a move, swish, swish, swish. A hurricane swept through the tunnel. It was surging with blazing flames. The raging waves slapped against the surrounding air like waves splashing in the sea. In that long and deep tunnel, the originally bright and clear environment, as the young girl's profound light surged, a faint and indistinct figure actually appeared in a flash. Vaguely, under the flickering glazed light, one could see the slender and graceful figure of a young girl dressed in pink moving quickly under the flickering flowing light. Her dress fluttered in the wind like a blooming peach blossom. Bang! A soft explosion resounded in Zhu Wuxin's ears. He was just about to move. As she breathed, a familiar fragrance entered her nostrils. His body suddenly stiffened. The black-haired girl in peach-colored clothes stepped on a flickering light as she closed in. It was during this moment of stupor. Zhu Wuxian's nose seemed to smell a refreshing medicinal fragrance. His pupils contracted as he speedily held his breath. But at this moment, his mind suddenly went blank. His body suddenly went limp. He frowned as he raised his eyes to look at the young girl. Both his arms were clamped by the young girl. That icy cold gourd flame fan's tail drew a dagger as it stuck close to his neck. Chapter 52-23. Zhu Wuxin frowned slightly. Even though he was not very conscious, he could still clearly feel the coldness of the dagger on his neck as it pressed against his skin. All the girl had to do was use a little more strength. That dagger would definitely pierce through his skin. Beside his ear, the young girl's clear and sweet voice carried a hint of laughter. "Young Master Chu, how does this feeling feel?" Chu Wuxin's eyelashes trembled slightly. The young girl's smile deepened. Young Master Chu should understand the principle of not doing to others what they don't want done to them, right? He had used the same method on her over and over again. Now, she was using the same method on him. She wanted him to have a good taste of being trampled on. Zhu Wuxin had made use of her trust several times to achieve his goals. Yiqing Luo still had some opinions in her heart, and she couldn't act as though nothing had happened. The lines on Zhu Wuxian's cold and hard face were as cold as before. There was no change in his expression at all. The pair of slightly hazy but still cold eyes met the young girl's gaze without blinking. His eyes were calm, and his emotions could not be seen. "Young Master, Fengqing Luo, let go of Young Master. What do you want to do? If you dare to touch a hair on the Young Master's head, the Illusion Clan will use all of our power to make you pay the price." Zhu Wuxin said nothing. On the other hand, the people of the Illusion tribe shouted impatiently. One by one, they stared at Yiqing Luo nervously. He was afraid that Yiqing Luo's hand would tremble and hurt Zhu Wuxian. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled up slightly. Her smile was like a flower, pure and beautiful. However, the words that came out of his mouth were filled with a sharp coldness. "Right now, your young master is in my hands. If you want your young master to live, you'd better obediently open the restrictive formation that Huang Wuyo set up here." In order to completely break Huang Wuyo's seal, he had to first destroy the array that Huang Wuyo had set up. While Huang Wuyo was being corroded by the poison, Lin Fan took the opportunity. It was the best opportunity to break through the formation. The people of the illusion race were so confident that they could come here. There must be a way to break the formation. When the people from the illusory clan heard Yi Qing Luo's conditions, their expressions changed drastically. Opening up the restriction array, wouldn't that be allowing Feng Qing Luo to rush in and seal revered Worryless completely? How could they possibly break the forbidden spell in front of Yi Qing Luo? But the young master couldn't ignore it. The people of the illusion clan were full of hesitation and confusion. Huan Luo looked at Zhu Wuxin, who was being restrained. Her sharp blade flickered with a cold silver light. It was as if it was going to cut Zhu Wuxin's neck in the next instant. She gritted her teeth. Feng Qing Luo, quickly let go of young master. Are you really worthy of young master's feelings for you by treating him like this? Yi Qing Luo's chilly gaze casually shot towards Huan Luo. Facing Huan Luo's angry and unresigned gaze, Yi Qing Luo appeared much calmer and colder. I'm merely giving you a taste of your own medicine. Since you asked me that, I would also like to ask you a question in return. Your young master claims to have deep feelings for me, but why did he use my trust time and time again? Is this worthy of his feelings for me? Yi Qing Luo's lips curled upwards as her brows were filled with ridicule. Huan Luo's face flushed red from the rebuttal as she clenched her teeth and clenched her fists as she stared at Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo laughed again. Since you're worried about your young master, then obediently destroy the array. Saying that, a crafty cold arc flashed past her eyes as her tone was filled with ridicule as she teased mischievously. You're doing this. Are you worthy of a young master? Chapter 52-24. Huan Luo was once again rendered speechless. The illusion clansmen looked at the young lady's arrogant attitude and immediately turned to look at their other pillar, the illusion clan's princess, Qingge. Princess, quickly think of a way that slut really wants to kill young master. Princess, are we really going to listen to her and undo the curse? No, we must not undo it. Once the curse is undone, that slut will be one step ahead of us. How are we going to settle the blood feud between us? Once she said that, the illusion clansmen were even more furious and agitated. But Qingge kept her head lowered and didn't say a word. Her messy hair covered the expression on her face and concealed all of her aura. She didn't make any movements at all, even if she was impatient. Young master was still being restrained by Feng Qing Luo. Although they didn't have much contact with Feng Qing Luo, but they knew that the other party was definitely not a patient person. If they didn't give an answer after a long time, causing Feng Qing Luo to be anxious and directly kill their young master. Thinking of this, how could the illusion clansmen maintain their composure? Princess, are you going to stay here and watch young master being killed by that slut? Someone's tone was slightly heavy. Young Master Chu's life was in danger. As the illusion clan's princess, how could she not show any expression? But the young lady who had her head lowered still didn't raise her eyes. He didn't even move an inch. That person was the elder of the illusion clan and had a stubborn and urgent hope to take revenge for the family feud and revitalize the illusion clan. Right now, it was the most crucial moment. Naturally, he was filled with anxiety. That person couldn't help but urged, Princess, are you not going to save young Master Chu? If Princess is not willing, then we can only bypass Princess's command and save young Master first. After that person finished, he stared at Qingge, but he still didn't get any response from Qingge. That person was so angry that he flicked his sleeves angrily and turned around to rush towards Chu Wu Xian's direction. Just as he turned around, a sharp pain came from his chest. It was as if something sharp had torn his body apart. That person lowered his head and saw his chest. A slender, jade-like hand had pierced through him. Princess, princess. That person was astonished. He turned his head in disbelief and looked behind him. It was Qing Ji's hand that had penetrated his chest. The princess of the illusion race wanted to kill him? Princess. Grand Elder Huan III. Grand Elder Huan III. The people of the illusion tribe were stunned when they saw this scene. Why did the princess kill the three founding elders. The person known as Grand Elder Huan III had no way of knowing the answer. When he turned around and saw Qing Ji's sinister smile on her face, he felt a chill run down his spine. The hand that pierced through his chest tightened its grip. His heart was crushed. Huan San died with everlasting regret. Qing slowly withdrew her hand. Her slender fingers and fair arms were stained with sticky blood. She raised her head slightly, revealing her exquisite face. That one glance caused everyone's hearts to contract abruptly. What kind of face was that? What kind of eyes were those? That clearly delicate and beautiful face was now twisted into a ball of malevolence. The contorted lines were extremely terrifying. That pair of eyes was also filled with a sinister smile. It was as if she didn't care about anything in the world. Then, the crowd watched as Qing slowly opened up her bloody hand. Chapter 52-25. Her blood-drenched hands were slender and delicate. Between her fingers was a piece of jade that shone with a mysterious light. That was the profound heart jade. Elder Huan III's profound heart jade had been dug out by Qing. "Your Highness, what are you doing?" The Illusion clan members exclaimed in shock. They looked at Qing with fear in their eyes. They could not believe their eyes. Their Illusion clan had been exterminated 10,000 years ago until now. There were only 20 of them left. Because of this, even if someone from the Illusion clan did something to harm Li, they would only punish him. At most, they would punish him a little. It was impossible for them to take his life. But now, their Lady Princess had actually attacked and killed Grand Elder Huan III, who had done nothing wrong at all. Elder Huan III was second only to the princess in the Illusion clan. Why would the princess do this? The people of the Illusion clan were puzzled. Qing followed the voice and looked at the Illusion clan member. The smile at the corner of her mouth was sinister and terrifying. After that, a figure suddenly flashed, and it suddenly flew towards the person who spoke. Elder Huan III had been hit because he was not on guard against Qing. But this time, the people of the Illusory tribe were already frightened by Qing Ji's strange appearance. They saw Qing move. Everyone dodged to the side. But Qing Ji's strength was above theirs. The person who had spoken just now tried to escape. However, Qing still managed to grab him by the neck and press him to the ground. Dong! There was a loud bang. That person's head was pressed against the rain. He could even feel a sticky liquid seeping out of his head. He opened his mouth and struggled to break free of Qing Ji's hand. But he had no chance to struggle. He felt a dull pain in his chest. Qing Ji's hand, which was stained with Elder Huan III's blood, stabbed into his heart. Then there was no more sound. When Qing pulled her hand back, there was a profound heart jade in her palm. The people of the Illusion clan did not dare to speak anymore. They looked at Qing in shock and fear. Their princess had killed another Illusory race member. Could it be that the princess had lost her mind? What are you all standing there for? Wait for her to kill all of you? Right when everyone was shocked and terrified, and their minds were filled with wild guesses, a clear and indifferent voice suddenly entered into their ears. Everyone was taken aback and looked in the direction of the voice. The girl who had been restraining Zhu Wuxin was now looking at them calmly. The black-haired, peach-colored young woman had a devastatingly beautiful face. However, there was not the slightest trace of emotion on her face. Her long and narrow eyes seemed to be covered in frost. There was also a hint of sarcasm in his voice. It was as if he was mocking their stupidity and ignorance. When they were looking at Yi Qing Luo, Qing also glanced sideways, as she stared at Yi Qing Luo sinisterly. The murderous intent in his eyes was surging like a tide, as though it wanted to swallow Yi Qing Luo up. "Is this your doing? What did you do to our princess?" Someone couldn't suppress the fear in his heart and cursed while gnashing his teeth. As soon as he said that, the crowd seemed to have found an excuse as they stared angrily at Yi Qing Luo as they started to accuse her. "You guys are really stupid." No wonder the once mysterious and powerful Illusion clan had fallen to such a state. Yi Qing Luo scoffed lightly, as her tone was filled with ridicule. You guys can't even read a person's heart. How did you manage to divine for others, predict the future? Chapter 52:26. What do you mean by this? Being ridiculed by a young lass in such a high and mighty manner. The group of illusionary clansmen who thought highly of themselves were instantly infuriated. Yiqing Luo's slender fingers moved slightly. That sharp dagger stuck close to Zhu Wuxian's neck as it tapped a few times. This action instantly suppressed the anger of those illusionary clansmen. Seeing that they had quietened down, Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled as she spoke calmly. Can't you all tell that this princess of yours has been bewitched? Bewitched. The crowd looked at Qing Gu in shock. They really didn't want to believe Yiqing Luo's words. But looking at Qing Ji's malevolent and terrifying face, especially when they saw the two blood-stained, profound heart jade in her bloody hands, they had no choice but to believe Yiqing Luo's words. Their princess might have really been possessed by the devil. Otherwise, how could she possibly do such a thing? This princess is the one you should be loyal to. Qing Ji's voice was cold as she warned them. The one you should believe is this princess. If I didn't guess wrongly. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled upwards as her narrow eyes curled into a ridiculing cold arc. You should have reached some kind of deal with Huang Wuyo, right? From Qing Ji's strange behavior earlier, Yiqing Luo had sensed that something was wrong with her. Then, in Qing Ji's eyes, she saw a familiar wisp of dark energy. Based on her understanding of Huang Wuyo, Yiqing Luo could totally imagine the scene of how Huang Wuyo lured the pigeon into the trap. Mentioning Huang Wuyo, the expression on Qing Ji's face changed slightly as she said, all I want to do is to avenge the illusionary tribe and bring them back to life. Don't you dare to sow discord. Yiqing Luo scoffed. Revenge? Isn't the enemy of your illusionary clan Huang Wuyo? But today you killed two of your illusionary clan's generals for Huang Wuyo. TSK. You call this revenge for the illusionary clan? Yiqing Luo tilted her head as her narrow eyes were filled with ridicule. If I don't say it, I'm afraid you will kill even more. Illusionary clans people? Her words fell. The hearts of the illusion race clansmen jumped. All of them looked at Qing Gu in astonishment, hoping that Qing Gu would retort. But Qing Gu only stared coldly at Yiqing Luo. Her eyes were filled with murderous intent. Apparently, he had tacitly agreed to Yiqing Luo's words. The hearts of the illusory tribe members turned cold at this moment. Princess of the illusion race, do you know what you're called now? Between Yiqing Luo's brows, the sarcastic smile became more obvious. This is called acknowledging the thief as father. Wasn't that the same as acknowledging the enemy as his father? Huang Wuyo had exterminated the illusory race. Qing Gu wanted to avenge the illusory tribe. But now he stood on Huang Wuyo's side and killed his own clansmen. Using this kind of behavior, they were trying to please their enemies by wiping out their own clan. What a joke. But he had to admit, Huang Wuyo's brainwashing ability was truly strong. Cut the crap. Qing Gu sneered. How I want to avenge my people has nothing to do with an outsider like you. You're trying to sow discord between me and my people. It's obvious that you're flustered now. Her cold and sinister smile made her face look even more terrifying. In that pair of sinister eyes, the profound Shi was getting thicker and thicker. It almost covered her eyes, leaving behind a patch of thick black. Chapter 52:27. Yiqing Luo gave a light scoff as her long and narrow eyes glistened. She gave a casual smile. Oh, do whatever you want then. Anyway, whether your Mirage Clan's people are dead or alive, it doesn't have much to do with me. Qing Gu raised her hand and pointed at the people from the illusory tribe. All of you, capture that bitch. The faces of the people of the illusion race paled. Looking at the ferocious and obviously crazy Her Highness, they stammered, But young master. Young master is still in her hands. If they make a move, wasn't she going to make an example out of young master? Why are you panicking? Although the clear pigeon had accepted Huang Wuyo's deal, it did not mean that it had lost its consciousness. She looked at Yi Qing Luo with cold ridicule as her eyes were filled with ridicule. This big sister Feng Qing Luo, what Feng Qing Luo is most concerned about, is the so-called comradeship. Young master treats her so well and has saved her so many times. How could she really do anything to young master? Left and right, I'm just scaring you. Qing Ji's tone was firm. The people of the illusion race looked at each other, not sure if they should believe him or not. Qing Ji's red lips curled into a sinister smile. If you don't believe me, you can try. This princess is sure that big sister Feng's conscience will never allow her to kill the young master who loves her so deeply. Even if Qing Gu was so sure. No one from the illusion race moved. All of them took a look at Qing Gu and then looked at Zhu Wu Xian, who was being restrained in Yi Qing Luo's hands. There was an obvious bloodstain on Zhu Wuxin's neck. Fresh blood also stained the sharp silver dagger that shone with a piercingly cold light. No matter how he looked at it, it didn't seem like he was unwilling to kill. Their young lord was the only one in this world with the purest bloodline of the illusory race. And he was even purer than the illusory princess. He was the young master who had inherited the inheritance of the illusion tribe's ancestor. How could they use the young master's life as a wager? The people of the illusion race were silent and hesitant for a long time. Qingge lost her patience. She raised her hand. Her eyes, which were filled with dark, Yin energy, coldly looked at the people of the illusion clan. The majestic and thick, profound Qi was suddenly blasted away. The members of the illusion race were sent flying, each of them slamming into a stone wall and then falling heavily onto the ground. Qingge leaped up and pounced towards the nearest illusory tribe member. Her bloodied hand directly pierced into his chest. Since you won't listen to me, then what's the use of you? The woman's ruthless words were completely emotionless. Your Highness, you can't do that. Our illusory tribe has no one left. Don't be fooled by revered Carefree. He wants to borrow your hand to destroy the entire illusory race. The people of the illusion race shouted at the top of their lungs to stop Qingge, but he still couldn't stop this woman's ruthless and merciless actions. Bang! Qing Ji's hand slammed into the ground with a loud thud. Oh! The woman let out a muffled groan. Because she didn't tighten her grip, her jade-like fingers, which were stained with blood, slammed into the ground, causing severe pain. Qingge felt as if her fingers were broken. Her face contorted in pain. The people of the illusory tribe heaved a sigh of relief. Just now, just when Qing Ji's hand stabbed into the chest of the illusory race member and dug out his profound heart jade, just like Elder Huan III, suddenly, that person's body seemed to be dragged by something. Chapter 52:28. His entire body slid backwards, and even on the ground, dragging a faint trace. Coincidentally, it avoided Qing Ji's attack. TSK, so cruel. The young lady's clear and melodious laughter, with a hint of ridicule in her voice, rang faintly. Qingge shot a vicious glare over. She saw the young lady clutching Zhu Wu Xian's neck with one hand, while the other hand was gently waving the glower flame fan. It was clearly seen. On the young lady's glower flame fan, there were many curved silver threads, as though they were broken, twining around that leg. It's you, Qingge frowned. Earlier, she almost dug out that raw, profound jade heart. It was this slut who used the silver threads to pull that person apart. Yi Qing Luo felt her heart aching as she looked at the curved and twisted silver wires which had exploded into balls of hair. She kept the silver threads back into the glower flame fan and drew out her dagger again, placing it towards Zhu Wu Xian's neck. After she finished all these, she then casually raised her eyes as she looked at Qingge with ridicule. Illusion Clan's princess personally harming her own clansmen. This show is really interesting. Even her smile was so casual. Qing Ji's mood turned gloomy. Her fingers clenched tightly as anger surfaced in her eyes. This princess is cleaning up the clan. What has it got to do with you? Mind your own business. Yiqing Luo smiled like a flower. Seeing your unhappy look, I feel very happy, so you want to kill them, but I won't let you. Her words had just ended. At a close distance, she heard an unconcealable chuckle as it entered her ears. It was Zhu Wu Xian who was clamped in her hands. Perhaps it was because of the effects of the medicine. His deep and cold eyes were a little misty. His thin lips were raised as he smiled. Yiqing Luo seemed as though her thoughts were seen through, as her slender brows creased as she stared at him. Shut up. Be a good hostage. This wasn't because she was soft-hearted. After all, these people from the Illusion Clan were the last remaining clansmen of the Illusion Clan. If they all died under Qing Ji's hands, Zhu Wu Xian would really be left alone. Although she was very angry with Zhu Wu Xian's actions, although she had Zhu Wu Xian as a hostage in her hands. In any case, he had saved her life before. He could be considered as her friend. Although he couldn't respond to Zhu Wuxin's feelings, but that didn't mean she was really cold and heartless. Obviously, Zhu Wuxin also saw through her intentions. Yiqing Luo couldn't be bothered with Zhu Wu Xian as she raised her eyes to take a look at Qinggu and subsequently swept her gaze towards those people from the Illusory Clan. What are you all still standing there for? Are you tired of living? It was probably because Yiqing Luo had made a move earlier to save a Mirage clansman from Princess Darao. After the Illusory Clan heard Yiqing Luo's words, almost reflexively, he crawled up from the ground and ran towards Yiqing Luo's direction. They had completely forgotten that the protector they were seeking now was the person who controlled their young master's life. This scene made Qinggu even angrier. The pair of eyes that were burning with anger were filled with thick black inchi. Good, good. Since all of you want to betray the Illusion Tribe, I will fulfill your wish. Qinggu roared angrily. She suddenly clenched the two profound heart jades in her palms. Following that, she threw it towards the stone cave, which was obstructed by the restrictive array. The moment the profound heart jades were thrown towards that direction, the outer boundary of the stone cave seemed to have a layer of water ripples. Immediately following that, the profound heart jades entered the stone cave. Chapter 52:29. She actually threw the profound heart jade to Revered Worryless. Princess, what are you trying to do? Revered Worryless is currently in a period of heavy injuries. We can take this opportunity to complete our plan by giving him the profound heart jade. Wouldn't it speed up the recovery of his energy? Princess, the minute Revered Worryless regains his energy, all of us will die. The people from the Illusion Clan had completely understood what was going on. Their princess had probably been bewitched by Revered Worryless. Otherwise, why would she help Revered Worryless? A bunch of traitors. What rights do you have to teach me? After Qinggu threw the profound heart jade into the stone cave, her eyes, which were filled with a dense dark aura, looked towards the group of Illusion Clan who were hiding behind Yiqing Luo. The murderous intent in her eyes was extremely obvious. She wanted to kill all of them. The people from the Illusion Clan were in a state of shock as their breathing became stagnant. They stared at Qinggu anxiously as they were in a dilemma. Just as they were feeling unsettled and on guard, they would explode at any moment. Suddenly, a young lady's mocking laughter rang melodiously in the tunnel. That laughter was extremely pleasing to the ear. You're all so silly at this stage. What are you still hesitating for? The young lady ridiculed. You're worried that she's the Illusion Clan's princess, so you don't dare to make a move. But she doesn't have any misgivings. You're the last batch of people from the Illusion Clan. The young lady's pink lips curled up as her gaze swept past the people from the Illusion Clan. Her eyes were filled with disdain and ridicule. She's thinking of using your profound heart jade to increase Huang Wuyo's strength. Yiqing Luo held onto the glower flame fan as the sharp dagger tapped on Zhu Wu Xian's neck. The silver light was biting cold as it flickered. That made the people from the Illusion Clan's hearts palpitate, afraid that if she wasn't careful, the dagger would slash through their young master's neck. Why don't I give you a suggestion? The young lady was very satisfied with her actions, attracting everyone's attention. She smiled at them. You guys join hands and kill your illusion clan's princess, other than killing Qingge. There was no other way, unless they wanted to die. After knowing that Qingge had become a demon and was standing on Huang Wuyo's side, she became his pawn. He even willingly gave Qing Pigeon his head and his profound heart jade. Then she had nothing to say. In any case, she had already saved those who she could. What should be done had already been done. Didn't want to live or die. That would depend on their own choices. She wasn't exactly leaving him in the lurch. This could be considered as repaying a favor to Zhu Wuxin. The people of the Illusion Clan were silent, listening to the girl's understatement, asking them to kill their princess. How could they bear to do it? The princess was the hope of the illusion race. How could they kill the princess? Oh, it's fine if you don't want to. Yiqing Luo had already seen the answer from everyone's faces as she spread out her hands indifferently and shrugged her shoulders. Then why don't all of you crush your own profound jade heart and self-explode now? When she said this, she laughed incomparably viciously. At least this way, your profound heart jades won't become Huang Wuyo's energy. She had finally poisoned Huang Wuyo till he was weak. She wouldn't allow that bunch of people from the Illusion Clan to destroy this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Chapter 52:30. Once Huang Wuyo regained his strength, the chances of sealing it again were minuscule. If the Illusory Clan insisted on helping the tyrant, she could only destroy the chance for them to help the tyrant. Yiqing Luo's narrow eyes squinted dangerously as her fingers, which were holding the glower flame, fan tightened slightly. When the Illusory Clan heard Yiqing Luo's words, their expressions turned extremely gloomy. This young lady's words were simply too vile. It was totally stabbing a knife into their hearts. Huan Luo's dainty face congealed into a ball as she stared fiercely at Yiqing Luo. You woman, you're really vicious. I'm vicious. Yiqing Luo couldn't help but laughed. I won't kill my own clansmen. Yiqing Luo's words were filled with ridicule, just based on Qing Ji's earlier actions. Huan Luo had no way to deny or rebut. Her face was flushed red with anger and anger, but most of it was shame and indignation, just as the Illusory Clan's hearts were surging with waves of shock. Suddenly, a chilly yet slightly weak voice sounded extremely clear in the quiet tunnel. Listen to her. Those three words were like thunder, exploding in the Illusory Clan's minds. The Illusory Clan's people were stunned for a moment. A slightly older elder who looked like a veteran tried to probe. Young patriarch? That was young patriarch's voice. The man who was being held hostage by the young lady. That pair of deep dark cold eyes reflected a biting cold glint. If it wasn't for that pair of eyes, which were obviously misty and hazy, everyone was suspecting if their young patriarch wasn't affected by the medicinal effect at all. That kind of cold, frosty gaze. It made everyone subconsciously tensed up their emotions. Illusory Clan never keeps any traitors. Zhu Wuxian's cold, thin lips moved slightly as he spoke coldly. Since Princess has already sided with the enemy, then you're no longer a member of the Illusory Clan. Qing Ji's expression was sinister as she stared at Zhu Wuxian. Young patriarch, are you banishing me because of that woman? The moment you took action against our clansmen, you lost your princess identity. Zhu Wuxian replied indifferently. Qingge did not get angry. Instead, she laughed. Her eyes were filled with mockery. Young master, you sure sound nice. It's all because of that woman. What do you mean this princess defected to the enemy? What about you? As the young master of the Illusion Clan, you fell in love with the daughter of the enemy. Shouldn't a young master like you be called a traitor of the Illusion Clan? Her words directly pointed out that Zhu Wuxin had forgotten his friends in the face of love. For an unrelated girl, he had expelled her, the princess of the illusion race. To be able to expel her today, tomorrow, for the sake of that girl, he would expel the others. In the end, the entire illusory race would be destroyed in the hands of that girl. She was also reminding the illusory race. That girl was Huang Wuyo's biological daughter. The coldness on Zhu Wuxin's face deepened. He clenched his fists tightly, and a layer of frost gathered in his eyes. It was as if a thick fog was spreading in his eyes. Kill! He was too lazy to argue with Qing Gu, so he spat out the cold words indifferently. That word fell. The hesitant, illusory tribe members glanced at Qing Gu. After a moment of silence, they suddenly swarmed toward Qing Gu. To them, the princess of the illusion race was of noble status. She was also the hope of the illusion race. But compared to the young master, they were more inclined towards the young master. For so many years, it was the young master who had devoted himself to the illusion race. He was bent on revenge. Chapter 52:31. Although they were worried about what Qing Gu said earlier, they would be worried in their hearts. But they believed that their young matriarch would absolutely not treat the illusion clan as a joke. At least, young matriarch had never hurt the illusion clan. As for Qing Gu, killed 2 illusion clan members consecutively. Moreover, that newly appointed divine phoenix, Feng Qing Luo, although she seemed to despise them, but she had still saved them. Saved them from Qing Ji's hands. They weren't blind, they had eyes. They weren't fools, they could feel it. Naturally, they could see who was right and who was wrong. After Zhu Wuxian gave this command, they hesitated for a moment because of their loyalty and made the final decision. Qing Gu sneered coldly. Her eyes were filled with malice and anger. Facing the illusion clan's people who were pouncing on her, she totally had no emotions. Swiftly, she fought with them. Suddenly, a group of illusion clan members who followed her into Huang Wuyu's sealed grounds. Just like that, they started their internal fighting mode. Yiqing Luo restrained Zhu Wuxian and was left to one side. Yiqing Luo might as well throw Zhu Wuxian to one side, to a safe position. The man who was leaning against the stone wall raised his slightly hazy cold eyes as he stared at her. Where are you going? Just stay here and watch with your own eyes how your clansmen kill each other. Yiqing Luo's voice was calm, and the words she said didn't have much emotions. But when it fell into Zhu Wuxian's ears, it was extremely cruel. Don't think that I saved the illusion clan because of you. You don't need to think that I care about you. You've made use of my trust several times and poisoned me. I will not forgive you. Now, you should enjoy the feeling of being poisoned and being powerless. Yiqing Luo finished her words and didn't bother about Zhu Wuxian. She walked straight towards the front, towards the stone cave which was sealed by the array. On the other side, the illusion clan and Qing Gu were locked in a fight, so no one noticed Yiqing Luo's actions. Yiqing Luo stood outside the stone cave as her gaze penetrated the stone cave and into the stone cave. The cave in front of them was an empty tomb chamber. There was nothing else except for the steep stone walls. It was as if the other end of the cave was nothing more than an empty tomb chamber. Yiqing Luo's slender fingers lightly pressed on the azure dew bracelet. The flowing red aura lingered around the girl's slender white fingertips. Yiqing Luo's eyelashes fluttered slightly. He raised his eyes to look at the cave again. The cave was completely different from what he had seen earlier. The originally empty tomb chamber was now covered by a hazy black fog. The hazy fog was thick and black, covering the entire cave. Black ripples could be vaguely seen on the surface of the water. That was Forbidden Array. Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes narrowed slightly as her gaze congealed a little. If it was anyone else who couldn't see the thick black mist and recklessly approached it, they would probably be swallowed by the formation. She had to think of a way to deal with this forbidden array. She absolutely could not let Huang Wuyo regain his strength. Take his life while he was down, that was her aim. Yiqing Luo's eyes reflected a dangerous cold glint. From the corner of her eyes, she suddenly saw a figure. She congealed for a moment, and suddenly her figure moved as she leapt towards that person. She stretched out her hand and pulled that person over. The lady who was locked in a fight with the Illusion Clan and Qinggu was pulled over for no apparent reason. Chapter 52:32. The woman wanted to retaliate, but as soon as his palm moved, it was grabbed by a small, fair, and strong hand. The girl's clear and melodious voice rang in his ears. Huan Luo, come over and have a chat. The young lady was suddenly pulled and crashed into Yi Qing Luo's arm. As soon as he raised his head, he saw a beautiful face that could topple cities. Huan Luo's eyes were filled with such breathtaking beauty. The collision stunned Huan Luo for a moment. Immediately, her face turned red. No matter how much he hated this girl in his heart, Huan Luo couldn't help but admit that this young girl's appearance was the most stunning one she had ever seen. Yi Qing Luo glanced sideways at the stone cave as she got straight to the point. Since you Illusory Clan's people have used everything today as a bet for the future of the Illusory Clan, that means that you've already thought of a way to deal with Huang Wuyo, right? Her long and narrow eyes were slightly raised, forming a rippling arc. It's useless for you to ask me. I won't tell you. Huan Luo's voice was tense. Tell me the method to break the formation, and I'll return your young master to you. Yi Qing Luo's brows rose as she indicated for her to look towards Zhu Wu Xian's direction. If you understand me well enough, then you should know that the poison in my body is extremely strong. Even Huang Wuyo's body is being corroded by my poison, let alone your young master. Yi Qing Luo gave an evil smile. Don't tell me. You can bear to see your young master suffer unbearably? Huan Luo's face suddenly darkened and turned ashen. Her eyes were filled with worry as she stared at Zhu Wuxin. Zhu Wuxin was clearly sitting there, but his face was slightly pale and the cold aura around him had faded slightly. But in Huan Luo's eyes, she felt that Zhu Wuxin was in great pain at this moment. Otherwise, with her high and mighty personality, how could she possibly sit on the ground so absent-mindedly? He looked at Huan Luo's expression. Yi Qing Luo knew that she had guessed correctly. Huan Luo must have some special feelings for Zhu Wuxin. The smile on her lips deepened, and her slender fingers tightened their grip on Huan Luo's hand. She closed the distance between them and said in a voice that only the two of them could hear, Actually, if you want to avenge the Illusion Tribe, why do you have to make things so complicated? Unlocking Huang Wuyo's seal and using your Illusory Tribe's illusory techniques to make Huang Wuyo work for you. Is this revenge? No. How can you be sure that Huang Wuyo will really be affected by your Illusion Clan's illusion technique? How can you be sure that your plan will succeed? The young girl asked the question in a smiling tone, as if she was very careless. But in Huan Luo's ears, every word made her heart thump violently. Yi Qing Luo's words were full of smiles. Even her brows were indifferent and languid. Look at your Illusory Clan's princess. Huang Wuyo has yet to unseal his seal, and you're able to turn her into this. Neither human nor devil look. Are you sure that you've used the Illusory Clan's illusory arts to confuse Huang Wuyo, or that you've been completely exterminated by Huang Wuyo? Well, the last three words came out of her mouth. Huan Luo's eyelids twitched violently. She was flustered. She had no way to rebuke Yi Qing Luo's words. Everything that Yi Qing Luo said was indeed what they were worried about. Chapter 52:33. If the Illusion Clan's illusion was ineffective on Huang Wuyo, and if they undid Huang Wuyo's seal, what would the outcome be? Huan Luo's face turned pale, and the expression on her face changed from vigilance and disgust towards Yi Qing Luo to worry and fear. Yi Qing Luo bent over slightly to close the distance between them. Her presence was getting closer. Huan Luo was so shocked that her body trembled. Yi Qing Luo's hand pressed on Huan Luo's shoulder as her voice was intentionally suppressed to bewitch. My suggestion is to kill Huang Wuyo and settle this once and for all. Huan Luo's breathing started to turn heavy and cold. Her eyes stared at Yi Qing Luo without blinking. There was a ripple of emotions in her eyes. Silence for a while. So silent that the two of them had completely ignored the surrounding profound qi clashing against each other. Huan Luo then spoke in a hoarse voice. On what basis should I believe you? Based on me, I want Huang Wuyo dead. Yi Qing Luo's words were icy cold as the corners of her lips curled up slightly. And you want to take revenge for your country's hatred. Then, you also want him dead. Huan Luo pursed her lips tightly as she kept silent. She had to admit that she was convinced by Yi Qing Luo. After all, the current situation had indeed developed to a stage that they could not control. Even their illusion clan's princess was bewitched by Huang Wuyo and killed her own clansmen. If they waited till Huang Wuyo's seal was undone, would they be controlling Huang Wuyo or becoming his chess pieces? Huan Luo simply didn't dare to think of such an outcome. I can let the illusion clan's clansmen help you to break the restriction array. Huan Luo remained silent for a long time before giving her answer. She fixed her gaze on Yi Qing Luo as she said word by word, but you must first answer a question of mine. Yi Qing Luo shrugged her shoulders as she replied calmly. Ask. Huan Luo's pupils contracted slightly as her gaze became increasingly solemn. In your heart, does our young matriarch have any place? Hearing Huan Luo's question, Yi Qing Luo was still in a daze. She thought that Huan Luo was going to ask about how to deal with Huang Wuyo or the relationship between her and Huang Wuyo. She had not expected Huan Luo to ask this question. In her heart, did Zhu Wu Xian have any place? This question put Yi Qing Luo in a difficult position. She hesitated for a long time before answering carefully. This is our deal. I don't want to lie to you. If you're asking about the relationship between a man and a woman, my answer is no. But if it's something else like brotherhood, perhaps there is. She used the word maybe in a tone that even she wasn't sure about. However, he continued to explain with incomparable seriousness. From the start, Zhu Wu Xian and I have always been on two parallel lines. Even if we meet again, it's only because there's something to be gained. I don't deny that he might like me, but this kind of liking is not pure. It is far from the requirements of love that I want. He helped me a lot, but he also used me a lot. I can't say for sure what kind of special relationship we have. I can only say, no matter how much time has passed, I will always remember that a man like him appeared in my life. The girl's words were extremely sincere. Huan Luo had not interrupted Yi Qing Luo's words at all. As she listened, her lips were tightly pursed and the emotions on her face were slightly moved, until both of them remained silent for a while. Huan Luo then spoke in a hoarse voice, I understand. Chapter 52-34. What she wanted was to know what Zhu Wu Xian was in Yi Qing Luo's heart. And Yi Qing Luo didn't lie to her. Huan Luo slowly shifted her gaze towards Zhu Wu Xian. At this moment, Zhu Wu Xian was staring at their direction without blinking with that pair of misty watery eyes. Apparently, he was very interested in the question that Huan Luo had raised earlier. He had heard every single one of Yi Qing Luo's replies. His expression was very indifferent, and there wasn't much fluctuation on it. However, in his heart, there was a raging storm surging. He snorted softly. His thin lips curled upwards into a ridiculing arc. He was mocking himself. Mocking his own wishful thinking was mocking his own fate. Yi Qing Luo was right. Between the both of them, based on their status, they were destined to become enemies. His feelings towards Yi Qing Luo. Perhaps it was the obsession from the moment they first met when they were young, wanting to possess the only warmth, until today's deep love. But ultimately, as what Yi Qing Luo said, it wasn't pure. He couldn't give Yi Qing Luo pure feelings, because he had his own responsibility, his own mission. Perhaps, to let her firmly remember that in her life, there was once a her. In fact, he should be satisfied. But in his heart, there was a voice that kept telling him to get her, to possess her, to make her fall in love with him wholeheartedly, to stay by his side forever. This was like a spell slowly drawing out the deepest darkness in his heart. He shut his eyes hard, resisting the dizziness in his head as he slowly opened his mouth. Huan Luo. He spat out 2 words from his thin lips. His tone was very cold, but because of the hazy effect of the poison, it seemed slightly softer and hoarser than usual. Help her break the array. For simple words, made Zhu Wu Xian helplessly shut his eyes. He panted slightly. Yiqing Luo really didn't hold back when she poisoned him. The poison, although it wouldn't affect him much, but at this moment, it really made him unable to move. The silent Huan Luo, upon hearing young patriarch's voice, suddenly raised her head and looked at Zhu Wu Xian. Hearing Zhu Wu Xian's words again, her expression changed subtly. She stared at Zhu Wuxin for a long time before she pursed her lips and said, "Yes." Following that, his gaze turned towards Yiqing Luo. "To break this ancient forbidden array, it's impossible to rely on me alone. What do you need me to do?" Yiqing Luo understood and asked cooperatively. Huan Luo glanced at the people of the illusion race, who were fighting with Qing Ying, although Clear Pigeon was alone. However, the strength and state of mind of both sides were different. One side was ruthless, wishing that they could directly kill him and seize his profound heart jade. On the other hand, considering that this was their princess, they couldn't kill her no matter what. Therefore, after a period of fighting, the people of the illusion tribe were obviously at a disadvantage. There were also a few who were ambushed by the pigeons, and their bodies were covered with wounds. "Keep the princess occupied. I'll go with the other illusory race members to break the restriction formation," Huan Luo requested. The feather fan in Yiqing Luo's hand opened up, and a burst of dull, resounding sound was heard. Her pink lips curled up. "Of course, that's no problem." Following that, she leapt up and faced Clear Pigeon. Clear Pigeon and the people of the illusory race were locked in a battle, and the black and dense, profound yin-chi in her eyes had almost covered her entire eye sockets. That originally exquisite face was now distorted and looked extremely terrifying, just as one of the people of the illusory race was about to hurt her vital parts, and just as she stopped in time. Chapter 52-35. Qingge didn't feel at ease just because of the illusion clan's mercy. On the contrary, just as that person retracted his hand and had yet to put up his guard, her 5 fingers turned into a claw as she struck towards the door of mercy. Just at the critical moment, a fair hand clasped onto Qingge's hand. Immediately after, Qingge's body was sent flying. She smashed into the stone wall and then rolled on the ground. Qingge groaned a few times as she crawled up from the ground. The blood on the corner of her lips had stained her clothes, but there wasn't much change on her expression. She was still that twisted and terrifying. "Leave your princess to me." The young girl's voice was soft and gentle, with a hint of carelessness and carefreeness, as if she was at ease and contented. This made the surrounding people from the illusion clan to look over. The young lady was dressed in a peach-red long dress, and her skirt fluttered along with the strong wind. She held the glower flame fan in one hand as she stood in front of Qingge, looking down at her from above. It was just a back view. It made everyone feel a formless pressure forming in the air. That innate and intimidating aura made it impossible for anyone to avoid it. Young matriarch has orders for us to assist Feng Qing Luo, to help her kill revered Worryless, to take revenge for the illusion clan. Huan Luo didn't give them a chance to continue being shocked as she spoke to them directly. Everyone's expression changed slightly. "This is different from our plan. Princess's great change has already exceeded our plan." Huan Luo's face sunk as she pursed her lips and spoke in a calm tone. "This is young matriarch's order, and this is our only chance to take revenge for the extermination of the illusion clan." Everyone turned silent. Huan Luo didn't give them a chance to remain silent. Instead, she headed directly towards the stone cave, which was blocked by the array. She stood in front of the stone cave as she raised her finger and drew out a drop of blood as she pressed it between her brows tightly as she mumbled something. "This array, Only by using their illusion clan's ancient illusory arts could they possibly break the array. Huan Luo took action. The others looked at each other in dismay for some time. In the end, they still joined in Huan Luo's action. On the other side, Yiqing Luo directly blocked Qing Ge, who had turned into black completely. He didn't give her any chance to ruin the illusory race's plan. The more Yiqing Luo tried to stop him, the fiercer she got. The more Qing Ge raged, the more anxious she became, the more she wanted to break through Yiqing Luo's obstruction to prove her own ability. Qing Ji's emotions crumbled. That meant that Yiqing Luo had the upper hand. They fought for about half an hour. A dazzling golden light fiercely shot through the entire tunnel, surrounding the outside of the cave. Then it slowly shrank. In the end, it shrunk near the illusory race members who were sitting cross-legged and covered them. The people of the illusion race sat in a formation, casting ancient illusory techniques to fight against the forbidden formation. As the golden light became brighter and brighter, it was as if it was going to be blinded in the next instant. With a bang, the entire tunnel suddenly let out a loud explosion. The originally indestructible tunnel began to shake violently at this moment. Above his head, pieces of gravel were falling continuously. When Yiqing Luo stepped on Qing Ge onto the stone wall, she felt the intense fluctuation. She frowned and looked in the direction of the golden light. Why did this tunnel feel like it was about to collapse? Break! The people of the illusion race suddenly shouted in unison. Following that, an even more shocking and deafening explosion sound, accompanied by the kacha sound of the stone wall collapsing, was transmitted into Yiqing Luo's ears. Chapter 52:36. The golden light around the illusory race's people instantly surged toward the cave. The brilliant golden light intertwined with the dense black, profound yin qi. It was as though two huge dragons, one gold and one black, were tearing each other apart. Following the collision of the two forces, the tunnel started to shake even more violently, as though it was going to collapse at any moment. Yiqing Luo was stepping on Qing Ji's chest and was shaken by the vibrating force as she looked towards that direction, which was the moment she was in a daze. Qing Ge suddenly flipped herself up and rolled on the ground under Yiqing Luo's feet, instantly avoiding Yiqing Luo's clamp. Immediately after, his figure moved quickly and he dashed towards the direction of the stone cave. Yiqing Luo's reaction was swift as she looked up and saw Qing Ji's sinister face, covered with a chilling, murderous intent. Qing Ge was thinking to kill the people from the illusion clan and stop them from condensing that force. This Qing Ge had really gone into a frenzy to kill all of her own clan members. What was the point of her existence as the princess of the illusion clan? Who would still respect her as a princess? Just her alone, the so-called illusion clan member. How could she revive the illusion clan? Looking at Qing Ji's eyes, which were filled with profound yin qi, Yiqing Luo was almost certain this Qing Ge had completely become Huang Wuyo's chess piece. What a joke. Right from the start, Qing Ji's plan was to make use of the illusion clan's illusory arts to control and threaten Huang Wuyo, making him be used by the illusion clan. But now, everything was reversed. The person who was being used and controlled became her, and the person who played the chess became Huang Wuyo. This was the consequence of being conceited. This was the consequence of being greedy. In the end, to the extent that she herself felt that she was a stranger. Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes squinted slightly as the expression on her face congealed. The people from the illusion clan had already formed a united front with her. She naturally could not allow Qing Ge to disturb them from breaking the array. Although Yiqing Luo's thoughts were running wild, but in actual fact, only a few breaths had passed. Qing Ji's reaction was swift. Yiqing Luo's speed wasn't slow either. Just as Qing Ge raised her hand in an attempt to release the palm wind, which was revolving with profound qi, she waved the gourd flame fan in her hand. The gorging flame fan turned into a flaming top and spun rapidly towards Qing Ji's palm wind. Wherever the gourd flame fan went, a powerful, profound energy fluctuation swept out, like ripples in the air. Qing Ji's attack was blocked. She paused and glared at the devouring flame fan viciously. Whereas the glower flame fan, which had cut off Qing Ji's attack, speedily revolved back into Yi Qing Luo's palm. Qing Ji's eyes were filled with hatred and ruthlessness. She didn't try to hide her actions. Naturally, it attracted the attention of the illusory tribe members who were breaking the formation. He also didn't miss the fact that Qing Gu was trying to kill them. At this moment, everyone from the illusory race felt their hearts turn cold. Their illusion race's princess, Qing Gu, was no longer their princess. How ironic was that? They respected the princess as their lord. They wanted to kill her with all their hearts. But the Feng Qinga whom they obeyed Qing Ji's orders to kill had saved their lives time and time again. Looking at that peach blossom black hair, that ravishing young lady with a calm expression, blocking in front of them, blocking all of Qing Ji's attacks. The illusory race suddenly understood something. Their young matriarch, why would she be obsessed with Feng Qinga and love him so deeply without any regrets? Chapter 52-37. Feng Qing Luo. Did you think that by breaking the restrictive array, you would be able to seal him? Qing Gu saw that her plan had once again failed because of Yi Qing Luo, and her expression turned even more sinister. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled upwards as she ridiculed. If you can't, then why are you in such a hurry to stop your clansmen? She intentionally emphasized on the words, your clansmen. Qing Gu had no reaction at all. That pair of eyes, which was filled with dense, profound yin-shi, was filled with insanity. Feng Qing Gu. She shouted out Yi Qing Luo's name. As though she had gone mad, she pounced towards Yi Qing Luo. That stance seemed as though she was going to perish together with Yi Qing Luo. At the same time, the dazzling golden light intertwined with the mysterious yin-shi, and in that instant, a series of explosive sounds rang out. The two dragons, one black and one gold, coiled around each other with bared fangs and brandished claws. Finally, the brilliant golden light abruptly tightened its grip. That profound yin-shi was instantly annihilated in the golden light and disappeared. The people from the Illusion clan panted heavily as they laid paralyzed on the ground, their foreheads filled with cold sweat. The restrictive array was broken. Yi Qing Luo looked towards the direction of the stone cave as her pink lips curled up indifferently. Her voice was filled with ridicule. I don't have time to waste here with you, so... Her fingertips moved. The profound light shot out from the devouring flame fan as it pierced into Qing Ji's body. That profound light was like a sharp steel needle as it pinned Qing Gu onto the stone wall. Qing Gu moaned in pain as she struggled slightly, and the thing which pierced through her body emitted a sharp pain. She lowered her head and saw clearly what was pinned on her chest. It was a silver thread which was flickering with a silver ray. It was the silver thread in Feng Qing Ji's fan. It was just a silver thread, and it pinned her to the wall. Qing Gu was infuriated as she clenched her fists tightly, but there was no way for her to escape from the silver thread. Yi Qing Luo didn't bother about Qing Gu anymore. She had no intention to kill Qing Gu. This actually couldn't be considered as it was for Zhu Wuxian's sake. After all, Qing Gu was the princess of the illusory tribe. The people of the Illusion clan should be dealt with by their own people. Yi Qing Luo headed directly towards the direction of the collapsed stone cave as she sped off. The people of the Illusion clan only had time to see a figure flash past them. Young Lord. Huan Luo immediately ran to Zhu Wuxian's side and looked at him worriedly. Are you okay? Zhu Wuxian opened his eyes tiredly. The face he saw up close was not the face he was thinking of. The expression on his face and the light in his eyes instantly turned cold. He opened his thin lips lightly. What about her? She naturally referred to Feng Qing Luo. Huan Luo pursed her red lips and looked at the collapsed cave. Big Sister Feng has already gone in. Zhu Wuxin placed his hand on Huan Luo's shoulder. The sudden contact made Huan Luo's body stiffen. She was nervous and a little shy. Young master, help this young lord over. Zhu Wuxian forced himself to stand up. Huan Luo held onto Zhu Wuxian's arm. Young lord, based on your current condition, even if you follow her in, you won't be able to help her. When Huan Luo said this, her tone sounded a little grumbling. Fengqing Luo clearly knew that this place was extremely vicious and filled with dangers, but she still poisoned young master and left him here. If young lord met with danger, she didn't even have the ability to protect herself. Chapter 52:38. Even though Yiqing Luo had saved the illusory clansman, Huan Luo's impression towards Yiqing Luo had not changed at all. Zhu Wuxin pursed his thin lips. His cold eyes, which were slightly misty due to the poison, were fixed in the direction of the collapsed cave without blinking. The surging emotions in his eyes were enough to make Huan Luo tremble in fear. She knew that the young lord was angry. It wasn't because he was angry that Fengqing Luo poisoned him, but anger at this moment. He actually had no way to protect Fengqing Luo. Was so good about that girl. Why was the young master so infatuated with her? Young lord, even if you don't want to hear it, I must hear it. Huan Luo endured the spreading jealousy in her heart as she tried her best to dispel Zhu Wuxian's thoughts of heading to the stone cave to help Fengqing Luo. With your current physical condition, even if you rush over, you'll be a burden to Big Sister Feng, won't you? Revered Carefree already knows that Big Sister Feng cares about you. What if you? Huan Luo purposely lessened the strength she was using to support Zhu Wuxian. Zhu Wuxian's body suddenly staggered, and he almost lost his balance. Huan Luo hurriedly supported him. The cool and refreshing fragrance of the plum blossom seeped into her nose. This caused Huan Luo's heart to beat faster. Pretending that nothing had happened, she coughed lightly and continued. What if Revered Carefree uses you to threaten Big Sister Feng? Wouldn't Big Sister Feng have some misgivings? The tensed body of the man who was half supported by her strength loosened bit by bit. He seemed to agree with her words. Huan Luo heaved a sigh of relief, but she also felt a little sad. She heaved a sigh of relief because she had stopped Zhu Wuxin from taking the risk. What was sad was that Zhu Wuxin had ultimately listened to his advice only because of that one sentence, dragging Fengqing Luo down. He compromised. It was only because he was worried that he would implicate Fengqing Luo. However, Huan Luo did not say anything else. As long as Zhu Wuxin did not take risks and stayed here safely, that was enough. Furthermore, deep in her heart, she was still hoping Fengqing Luo could die at the other side of the stone cave. In this way, her young patriarch would no longer be infatuated with Fengqing Luo. Zhu Wuxin slowly leaned back against the stone wall, closing his eyes to rest. But the minute he thought of Yiqing Luo alone, facing Huang Wuyo, putting herself in danger, in his mind, Yiqing Luo's face kept appearing. He couldn't calm down at all. Suddenly, he keenly sensed an extremely faint trace of abnormality. That strange feeling was fleeting. It was so fast that he almost thought he was hallucinating because he was poisoned. That pair of clear, cold eyes slightly opened. Out of the corner of his eye, he happened to catch a glimpse of a black shadow moving towards the other end of the cave. In the blink of an eye, he had already disappeared from Zhu Wuxin's sight. It was him. What was he doing here? Zhu Wuxian's expression froze, a cold dignity rising in his eyes. He said coldly, Huan Luo, bring me to her immediately. Young lord? She had just persuaded Zhu Wuxin. How long had it been? Why did he change his mind? Don't talk nonsense. Immediately, Zhu Wuxin emphasized. Even though he was poisoned, causing his voice to be a little weak, his aura was still there. Huan Luo was shocked by Zhu Wuxin's aura. In the end, She stretched out her hand and supported Zhu Wuxin up as they headed towards the collapsed stone cave. "Young lord, where are you going?" "Young lord, you can't go over. That's where revered Wu Yu is sealed." Chapter 52:39. Although revered Wu Yu is currently in a sealed state, but just 1% of his soul trace is enough to deal us a heavy blow. "Young matriarch, you must not go over. Princess is already ruined. You are our illusion clan's last hope. You must not get into any trouble." The people from Illusion Clan had expended a large amount of energy to break the ancient forbidden array, which Huang Wuyo had set up, and before they could recover their energy, they saw Zhu Wu Xian being supported by Huan Luo as they headed towards the direction of the stone cave. Instantly, all of them were anxious. They had already lost an Illusion Clan's princess. If anything happened to Zhu Wu Xian again, their Illusion Clan, it was truly and utterly annihilated. But no matter how they tried to dissuade, Zhu Wu Xian's expression had not a single bit of fluctuation, nor did his vision fall onto them, only allowing Huan Luo to support him all the way to the school. The people from Illusion Clan were helpless. How could they let their only young matriarch get injured again? So they could only follow along. Yiqing Luo dashed into the stone cave. The collapsing boulders around them rumbled loudly in their ears. Her figure nimbly swept past all the obstacles. Her gaze was like a torch, fixated on a certain spot in front. No one could see it, but Yiqing Luo could clearly see. After she stepped into the stone cave, her azure dew bracelet surged with an extremely violent energy, as though a line had appeared out of thin air. From the azure dew bracelet, it extended all the way to a certain spot in front of the stone cave. Ever since Old Man Song entered this place, he had some unusual movements. Under the influence of that sinister blood skill, he could only choose to fall into a deep sleep. This was enough to understand. There was probably some sort of connection between the Azure Dew bracelet and Huang Wuyo. And this connection, was it from Huang Wuyo or her mother? She could only wait till she met Huang Wuyo before she would know. As the cave caved in, thin cracks appeared on the ground. But it didn't affect the entire stone cave's internal structure. Yiqing Luo's speed was extremely fast, and she had already reached the direction which the Azure Dew bracelet was guiding. The huge stone cave was filled with collapsed huge rocks. But the place where Yiqing Luo was standing now seemed to be isolated from the surrounding environment. Broken rocks and collapsed rocks totally didn't affect this area at all. The ground was still flat. There were no rocks or boulders crashing over. It was as if they were consciously avoiding this area. And because of this, Yiqing Luo could clearly see. In the midst of the huge stones that have collapsed all over the ground, a lifelike phoenix, spreading its wings, was carved on a stone wall in this area. Her phoenix feathers were distinct, and she raised her head and chest high. She looked noble and arrogant, high and mighty. Around the phoenix were densely packed totems that no one could understand. Like a shackle, it locked the phoenix tightly. For some reason, when he saw the phoenix desolate on the stone wall, Yiqing Luo felt that the surging energy in the Azure Dew bracelet became even more turbulent. Especially, she could even feel the center of her forehead gradually heating up. The cherry blossoms that had been hidden all this time slowly surfaced on the girl's forehead. The cherry blossom flowed with a dazzling light, and it faintly flickered with a seductive red glow, which further complemented the young girl's devastatingly beautiful face, making it seem incomparably bright and beautiful. Yiqing Luo suppressed the restlessness in her heart and bypassed the stone wall. On the back of the stone wall, there were 5 large words: Huang Wuyo's grave. Huang Wuyo's grave? What did this mean? This place was Huang Wuyo's grave? But wasn't Huang Wuyo still alive? Chapter 5240. Yiqing Luo was filled with suspicions and curiosity. She was just about to size up these 5 words to see if there was any mystery hidden within. The raging hurricane suddenly surged over. The overbearing hurricane was like a tornado, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws, scouring the surroundings. Yiqing Luo stood in the middle of the hurricane. Her ears were filled with the howling of the wind, making her slightly deaf. Her body seemed to have an extremely strong pulling force, attempting to pull her to a certain place. Yiqing Luo flipped her hand and grabbed the edge of that huge stone wall. In her hand, it felt icy cold, as though it was formed from a year's worth of frost. Instantly, Yiqing Luo's heart turned cold. But Yiqing Luo still didn't loosen her grip as she held on tightly to the stone wall, in case she was blown away by that overbearing hurricane. The raging hurricane made it difficult for her to even open her eyes to check the surrounding situation. After that, just as Yiqing Luo was about to lose her senses from the hurricane, a ray of red light shot out from the stone wall under Yiqing Luo's palm. Following, there was a gush of scorching flames, which surrounded her. The hurricane blew wildly. Wave after wave of flames swayed incessantly, swallowing and spitting out scarlet flames. Yiqing Luo forced herself to open her eyes. What entered her eyes was a huge, raging sea of fire. The raging flames surrounded her entirely. It was like a blooming mandala in hell in front of her, floating with a demonic red glow, as though it could incinerate everything on the ground. The hurricane and the raging flames merged. This made Yiqing Luo, who was leaning against the stone wall, feel even more uncomfortable. She frowned tightly, enduring the discomfort of the environment, as her gaze swept across the surroundings. The boundless sea of fire was surging in large swathes. Wherever her gaze landed, it was all engulfed in raging flames. But the scorching feeling was still there. But it didn't really hurt her body. At least, this scorching heat was still within the range that she could endure. Wait a minute. There seemed to be a black shadow floating in front. Yiqing Luo suddenly fixed her sight on a certain spot in front. But as the raging flames swayed, Yiqing Luo's eyeballs seemed to be swayed by the flames, as whatever she looked at was filled with layers of ripples. The raging flames were still surging. She couldn't tell what the black shadow in front of her was at all. After pondering for a moment, she tentatively moved her hand away from the stone wall. The cold sensation on the stone wall disappeared. He didn't know if it was a psychological effect. Yiqing Luo felt that the surrounding raging flames had become even hotter. She pursed her lips and walked in the direction of the black figure. The flames surged and formed a bridge of fire under her feet. She stepped on the scarlet flames, her blood like fire. When complemented with the peach blossom red dress on her body, it caused her to seem like a goddess of war amidst raging flames, noble, elegant, and beautiful beyond compare. Further ahead, Yiqing Luo could see the silhouette of the black shadow more clearly. It was a human figure, endless raging flames wrapped around that figure. The minute she saw that figure clearly, Yiqing Luo stopped in her tracks. That was Huang Wuyo. Yes, the figure wrapped in flames was Huang Wuyo, with his four limbs spread out and wrapped in countless flames in the air. Large swathes of scarlet flames surged in the entire space. Yiqing Luo's pupils shrank slightly. Here, it was the place where Huang Wuyo was sealed, and these scarlet flames were the key to sealing Huang Wuyo. Yiqing Luo's gaze swept back and forth on Huang Wuyo, who was wrapped in flames for a while. In the end, he slowly shifted his gaze back to the stone wall. Chapter 52:41. If she hadn't sensed wrongly earlier. The sudden surge of flames came from the stone wall, which was carved with the words Huang Wuyu's grave. Or, to be more precise, that stone wall was a stone tablet, the stone tablet of a gravestone. From the moment she saw Huang Wuyu, who was entangled in the raging flames, Yiqing Luo already had a rough guess. If she hadn't guessed wrongly, this stone tablet was carved with a lifelike phoenix on one side and Huang Wuyu's grave on the other side. It should be made by her mother, Feng Ge. That phoenix should be the key to sealing Huang Wuyu. And the 4 big words on the back. It should be, Feng Ji's most direct and sincere. Blessing to Huang Wuyu. She believed that one day, this place would definitely become Huang Wuyu's grave. He wanted Huang Wuyu to fall into an eternal slumber. The flames wrapped around Huang Wuyu's body, binding him to the point where he couldn't move at all. It came from the power of Phoenix Desolate on the stone tablet, the magnificence on the stone tablet, and the complicated and treacherous totem. They were all things which suppressed Huang Wuyu. The raging flames seemed to have merged with the air. Yiqing Luo looked over. Other than the raging flames, there were still raging flames. Completely, it had merged into one. Perhaps he had sensed that someone was approaching. That tightly shut eyes, even in the raging flames. The man's face was still pale, suddenly opened his eyes. His sharp and malicious eyes shot over, like a sharp knife stabbing over. When he met Yiqing Luo's face, that pair of cold and sharp eyes suddenly shrank. There was a moment of daze, as his pupils unconsciously enlarged. But very quickly, the other party seemed to have reacted to something. That pale, thin lips curled into a sneer of ridicule. You indeed found your way here. Yiqing Luo had been sizing up Huang Wuyu. Naturally, she didn't miss the moment when he was stunned and the changes in his eyes. Her long and narrow eyes squinted into a daze. What was he in a daze for? Earlier, what did he think of? Which was why he revealed that expression which made him lose his composure? Was it because when he saw her face, he thought of her mother? Thinking of Feng Ge. Yiqing Luo's eyes were filled with a chilly intent as she remained expressionless and met Huang Wuyu's gaze indifferently. Her pink lips moved slightly, and each word was filled with coldness and ruthlessness. If I didn't come, how could I make you completely disappear from this world? You want to kill your father? When Huang Wuyu heard this, he didn't get angry. Instead, he laughed. Although he seemed cultured and refined, his eyes were filled with ruthlessness. Under this cold and sinister smile, there was a hint of mockery. Yiqing Luo was expressionless. In this life of yours, you've done too many wrong things, and the people you've let down the most are me and Mother. She paused, her voice carrying a bit of firmness. So, I'm sending you down to apologize to Mother. Ha! Ha ha! Huang Wuyu laughed, even more exaggeratedly. As he smiled, the raging flames around him began to surge crazily, wrapping tightly around Huang Wuyu's body. They were like fire snakes. Huang Wuyu laughed, but his voice was clearly trembling. His expression turned even more unsightly. Apparently, these raging flames would change according to his emotions, so that it would be easier to seal him. But Huang Wuyu was long used to this kind of torture. He was still laughing. Have you forgotten, girl? Her soul has already dispersed. In this world, she will no longer exist. Even if this god goes down, I will not be able to see her. Ha ha ha. Chapter 52-42. Yiqing Luo's expression turned gloomy. That pair of long and narrow eyes were filled with anger. Her slender fingers clenched into a fist as a biting cold sharpness surged in her eyes. Very angry? It's right to be angry. Huang Wuyu looked at Yiqing Luo's expression and laughed even more savagely. Seeing you angry but unable to do anything to me, it really makes me feel carefree. So what if I've been sealed? Don't I still have to use my life to fight? All of you will die one by one, with your souls scattered. As for me, I can still be fine, or I could just watch all of you die one by one in order to kill me. Ha! A bunch of fools. A bunch of fools. Huang Wuyu's tone was filled with rampant ridicule. That obviously handsome, but because of his crazed, twisted expression, it looked extremely terrifying as a maniacal smile surfaced. Yiqing Luo's expression, in the midst of rage, gradually calmed down along with Huang Wuyu's maniacal ridicule. Her eyes were icy cold as she stared at Huang Wuyu expressionlessly. When he was done laughing, he then opened his mouth indifferently. So what if you're alive? Aren't you still suffering from endless loneliness and the oppression of being bound? Without freedom, you're just living alone, so that's why you're so twisted. The young lady's voice was very calm, without much fluctuation in her emotions. But the words that came out made Huang Wuyo's laughter stop abruptly. Huang Wuyo's eyes turned cold. What do you know? He stopped Yi Qing Luo's voice and shouted angrily. I only want to be strong, only to be above all living beings, to be invincible and powerful. As long as I'm strong, everything will be under my control. There are so many people who are willing to submit to me. How could I possibly be lonely? His face was cold and arrogant, with a tinge of ridicule, as he sneered at Yi Qing Luo. As for freedom, this seat will have absolute freedom soon. By then, you will be under me. As long as I'm around, I won't let you undo the seal. Yi Qing Luo's voice was indifferent, as her long and narrow eyes were filled with a faint glow. Huang Wuyo sneered. You sure are confident. Yi Qing Luo's gaze was fixated on his face without blinking, as her pink lips rose slightly. Of course I'm confident, because I know that you're already panicking in your heart. Yi Qing Luo's words fell. The sneer on Huang Wuyo's face froze. Then he stared at Yi Qing Luo for a long time and suddenly burst out laughing. This seat is flustered? Ha! This is the funniest joke that I've heard in 10,000 years. His gaze was sharp as he stared coldly at Yi Qing Luo, his eyes filled with ridicule. Even back then, when this seat and Gu crossed hands, this seat had never felt flustered at all. Just based on you, this seat's daughter, you can make this seat flustered? Yi Qing Luo didn't have the slightest trace of embarrassment on her face. She just quietly looked at Huang Wuyo. It was as if he was looking at a person who was trying to argue and cause trouble for no reason expressionlessly. It was so calm and indifferent. Huang Wuyo's body, which was entangled in the raging flames, tensed up at this moment. That face, which was laughing maniacally, was also tensed up terribly. Seeing him keeping quiet, the young lady's pink lips rose again as she smiled faintly. Huang Wuyo, you're right. I'm your daughter. When she mentioned the word daughter, her tone was calm, as though it couldn't stir up any ripples. That was a kind of indifferent attitude towards this identity, this title. Chapter 52:43. The calmer she was, the more indifferent she was. This meant that this title had no weight in her heart at all. Huang Wuyo frowned slightly as an indescribable sense of irritation arose. Compared to the discomfort of being entangled by the raging flames and the intense pain in his body, it made him even more irritable. He hadn't even opened his mouth. On the other side, the young lady's clear voice rang once again. Because of this, towards you, I could be considered as understanding. Her lips curled upwards. The sweet smile on her pink lips brought with it a tinge of chilly coldness. So, I know very well that you're putting on a brave front now. As her pink lips spat out the last four words, Huang Wuyo's pupils shrank imperceptibly. Yi Qing Luo slowly raised her hand. She held the feather fan between her slender, white fingers and slowly unfurled it. That feather fan was encircled with raging flames. It also seemed to have a red glow like lightning, flickering in and out. It contrasted against the young lady's fingertips, making them even more fair and translucent. Huang Wuyo, the current you, how are you going to resist? Her hand slowly pointed towards Huang Wuyo's direction. Looking at the man who was entangled by the raging flames and suspended in mid-air, the chilling intent in her eyes almost froze the surrounding air. No matter how strong you are, once the poison enters your soul, to detoxify it, you'll need to spend quite a lot of time and energy. She laughed lightly. Her tone was filled with ridicule. Now you're just pretending to be fine in front of me. I'm not exposing you, because I want to see how long you can last. From the moment she saw Huang Wuyo's original body, Yi Qing Luo was already completely sure. Huang Wuyo's current state was merely a forced act. No matter how much Huang Wuyo wanted to show that he wasn't affected by any poison. But The poison entering his body was definitely something that could be seen from his face. Not to mention, those poison had directly entered Huang Wuyo's soul. Yiqing Luo only took a glance at Huang Wuyo's face and was already certain. Huang Wuyo was poisoned. She was rather confident in her poison. After all, it was a poison that was specially learnt to refine in the pill refining secret manual. Even for a cultivator like Huang Wuyo, blinked in the same way. Yiqing Luo's feather fan slowly pointed towards Huang Wuyo's face as she smiled even more radiantly. Moreover, revered Wuyu, don't forget that I am Fengge, the daughter of the previous god emperor, and I have the bloodline of the divine phoenix inheritance. She tilted her head and smiled brightly. So, do you think that I won't be able to mend the seal after I know what's truly sealing you? The girl's pink lips spat out word by word. Huang Wuyo's sinister face, which was filled with pride and mockery, finally began to show a subtle change. That malicious cold eyes stared intently at Yiqing Luo. Like a venomous snake's gaze, it made Yiqing Luo smile instead. Looks like I guessed correctly. You're really smart. You're completely different from your mother, whose soul has already dissipated. Under Huang Wuyo's extreme anger, he specially targeted the thorn in Yiqing Luo's heart, stabbing it in. But even so what? Do you think you can stop me from breaking out of the formation? Yiqing Luo's eyes suddenly turned cold as her expression turned ugly. She gripped her glower flame fan tightly as she suddenly turned around and headed towards the direction of the stone tablet. Whether I can or not, let me try and we'll know. Her figure stretched out as she once again got close to the stone tablet, which was floating in flames, pressing her hand directly onto the stone tablet. Chapter 52-44. That complicated totem and lifelike phoenix desolate stone tablet was flickering with an enchanting flame, as though it was welcoming Yiqing Luo's arrival. The young lady's eyes were chilly, and her eyes were filled with a frosty glint, emitting a cold and determined murderous aura. Just as she was nearing the stone tablet, the young lady's fingertip drew a line. There was a cut on the girl's white fingertip, and fresh blood oozed out. A drop, crystal clear, slid into her palm. That bright red blood contrasted against the young lady's fair skin. Following that, the young lady's palm flipped. In a blink of an eye, that drop of blood had covered her entire palm. Following that, she pressed it hard against the stone tablet. Bam! 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 A surge of strong, profound yin-qi surged from her back. Huang Wuyo shouted angrily. Fengqing Luo, do you really think that I don't dare to kill you? Under the blazing flame, thick, profound yin-qi exploded from Huang Wuyo's body as he attacked Yiqing Luo ferociously. That momentum seemed as though it was going to swallow Yiqing Luo completely. Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes squinted slightly as her lips curled into a sarcastic sneer. Huang Wuyo disregarded the state of the seal as he forcefully split out his soul consciousness to deplete his energy. This also showed that he was indeed panicking. This also showed that all her guesses earlier were correct. Actually, she didn't have much confidence. After all, everything was based on her own guesses and deductions. Looked like the key to sealing Huang Wuyo was indeed on the stone tablet. However, she still had no idea how to do it. The only thing she was sure of was this stone tablet had an extreme thirst for her blood, especially when her hand was placed on the stone tablet. She even felt that the lifelike phoenix's blazing red pupils blinked at her gently when she fixed her eyes on it. But there was no abnormality, as though it was her misconception, which was the moment when she was in a daze. Her hand, which was placed on the stone tablet, was suddenly clasped and forcefully pulled away from the stone tablet. Yiqing Luo wanted to retaliate. He seemed to have guessed her thoughts, and he actually took the initiative to block her attack. After that, he once again grabbed her other hand and restrained her movements. The unfamiliar yet faintly familiar aura made Yiqing Luo's brows crease slightly. She didn't struggle. She pushed against the chest that was pressing against her and raised her head. Then, he met a pair of eyes that were as black as ink and did not show much emotion. Yiqing Luo was stunned once again. Gu Jingyu. The person in front of her had a handsome and gentle face. Just by looking at him, one could feel a warm feeling that was like a gentle wind sweeping through one's body, even if his face was expressionless and his eyes were lifeless. Even so, it was unable to conceal the gentleness and elegance emanating from his bones. In this world, apart from Gu Jingyu, who else could possess such a temperament? Why was he here? Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased tightly as she looked at that warm face which was just inches away from her, before her vision shifted on a Huang Wuyo. Gu Jingyu was Huang Wuyo's disciple. Now he had completely turned into Huang Wuyo's chess piece, and had forgotten all his feelings. The current Gu Jingyu was just a puppet in Huang Wuyo's hands, a puppet which was used to deal with her. She had to admit, Huang Wuyo's chess move was extremely well played. Gu Jingyu and Chu Wuxin were different. Although Chu Wuxin had helped her a lot, but all his help was based on making use of her. Chapter 52-45. All of Gu Jingyu's feelings were extracted because of her. A person who had lost his feelings. How could he be considered as a real person? And the reason for all these was because of her. So when Gu Jingyu appeared in front of her, Yiqing Luo was stunned. What followed was a surge of complicated emotions. Yiqing Luo, long time no see. The man opened his mouth, his voice was calm, still that clear and moist feeling. His hand clasped her wrist so that she couldn't move at all. Yiqing Luo's eyelashes fluttered slightly as she struggled free from his hand. What are you trying to do? Gu Jingyu allowed her to struggle free, and after the young lady took 2 steps back, he used his own body to block in front of the stone tablet, cutting off the distance between Yiqing Luo and the stone tablet. His gentle eyes faintly congealed on Yiqing Luo as his lips curled slightly, as his tone carried a hint of indifference. My motive here, isn't it obvious? You want to stop me? Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes. The previous you was not my opponent. Do you think you can stop me now? The more Gu Jingyu tried to stop her, and the more he understood a problem. This stone tablet, and her God Emperor descendant's blood, was the key to sealing Huang Wuyo. My dear daughter, then do you think, after his ability is not as good as yours, this seat will not undergo other transformations? That man who was entangled in the raging flames laughed sinisterly. Huang Wuyo's body was surrounded by a thick, profound yin qi. That face, under the contrast of one black and one red, looked extremely terrifying and sinister. Between his brows, there was a thick black qi. Yiqing Luo frowned slightly. She was stunned by Huang Wuyo's look. She was also disgusted by Huang Wuyo's words, my dear daughter, as she had goosebumps all over. She pursed her lips tightly, as she remained silent for a while. Transformation? What do you treat him as? He actually used the word transformation on a person. Gu Jingyu had been transformed by him. Wasn't enough? The current Gu Jingyu only had Gu Jingyu's memories, but completely without any feelings, a puppet who only knew how to follow Huang Wuyo's memories. He had already turned into this state. Huang Wuyo was still modifying him? Did they really treat humans as machines? Yiqing Luo had always thought, based on Huang Wuyo's personality, he would definitely take Gu Jingyu's life after Gu Jingyu had helped him time and time again, causing his plans to fail. But Huang Wuyo has no cherry. Gu Jingyu was still alive and well. Yiqing Luo thought that he was after all a disciple whom he had nurtured wholeheartedly, so he should have some feelings for him, which was why he was so tolerant towards Gu Jingyu. But Huang Wuyo had extracted all of Gu Jingyu's emotions, leaving behind only his loyalty to him and his mind, filled with memories that belonged to Gu Jingyu, but he could no longer touch Gu Jingyu's memories. To do such a thing, did she really have feelings for Gu Jingyu? Did Huang Wuyo really just want to make use of her guilt towards Gu Jingyu to make Gu Jingyu stop her? Was it that simple? My precious daughter, The key to unlocking the seal lies with you. Huang Wuyo laughed coldly again. That laughter was mixed with some sort of emotion. Did you think that you only have the use of restoring the seal? He laughed sinisterly. I was still thinking about how to get you to help me break the seal, but I didn't expect you to send yourself to my doorstep. Yiqing Luo's vision shifted towards Huang Wuyo. The profound yin qi on his face and body, as well as the surrounding flames, became more and more intense. Chapter 52-46. As though they were contending against each other. Yiqing Luo's expression sunk as her long and narrow eyes narrowed as she pondered over Huang Wuyo's words. She was the key to unlocking the seal? What did this sentence mean? Her appearance. Didn't it make Huang Wuyo flustered? Why did it suddenly become? She was the key to unlocking the seal? Yiqing Luo's gaze swept back and forth between Huang Wuyo and Gu Jingyu. Gu Jingyu suddenly stretched out his hand towards her as his fingers turned into sharp claws as he attacked towards her heart. His palm was encircled with thick, profound yin qi, like a sharp blade, as though it was going to pierce through Yiqing Luo's heart. Yiqing Luo's reaction was agile as she swiftly retreated backwards, narrowly avoiding Gu Jingyu's attack. Following that, she turned sideways and distanced herself from Gu Jingyu. She lowered her eyes as she looked at her chest. There was a cut on her peach-red robe as a few pieces of cloth floated down. She raised her hand and pressed against her chest as she suddenly understood the meaning behind Huang Wuyo's words. Huang Wuyo's target was her profound jade heart. Huang Wuyo wanted her profound jade heart to undo his seal. Yiqing Luo's brows creased even tighter. Huang Wuyo was flustered previously. It was because she had discovered a way to strengthen the seal, and he was unable to stop her. But now, he had a capable helper like Gu Jingyu. Not only could he stop Yiqing Luo, he could also help him to obtain her profound jade heart. It was a good idea. Huang Wuyo had no intention to hide as he saw Yiqing Luo evading Gu Jingyu's attack. He laughed sinisterly. Your profound jade heart is the most perfect work of mine, and I've spent a lot of effort for this profound jade heart of yours. 10,000 years ago, this piece of divine phoenix profound jade should have belonged to me. Now, you have nurtured this profound jade heart for so long. It's time to return it to me. His voice was sinister and treacherous, with a hint of insane greed. Mentioning Fengge, Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes surfaced a trace of viciousness. She had seen that memory from 10,000 years ago in the barbaric Bloodbone King's memory. Naturally, it was clear. Huang Wuyo touched the profound heart jade in her body. How he had hurt Fengge and deceived the barbaric Bloodbone King. At every moment, he was thinking about how to dig out her profound heart jade. Such a person was not fit to be a father. Yiqing Luo's palm pressed against her own heart. Her dark pupils were fixated on Huang Wuyo without blinking. Her words were icy cold. My things belong to me. What has it got to do with you? Still, did he deserve to use that word? Huang Wuyo sneered coldly. As he laughed, his face suddenly turned pale and his entire body tensed up. It was as if he was tightly entangled by the raging flames. Or perhaps the poison in his body was starting to surge again. However, he still tightened his voice and gnashed his teeth as he said, Gu Jingyu, dig out her profound heart jade. Gu Jingyu's emotionless eyes fell lightly onto Yiqing Luo's heart. His face was still as gentle as jade. However, the expression on his face and the emotions in his eyes were as cold as dead water. After that, he directly attacked Yiqing Luo. His attacks were ruthless, without any intention of showing mercy. He directly attacked her heart. Yiqing Luo's glower flame fan opened up, blocking Gu Jingyu's attack. My dear daughter, you only have two choices now. Even though Huang Wuyo was in pain, even though he was entangled by the raging flames, it had defeated his resistance. He still forced himself to smile. Chapter 52:47. That laughter was so eerie that it made one's hair stand on end. His malicious eyes were fixated on Yi Qing Luo as his words were filled with malice. Either you kill him. After that, he paused as his smile became even more eerie, or he'd dig out your profound jade heart. Huang Weiyou was very clear about Yi Qing Luo's current thoughts. Based on Yi Qing Luo's character, these two choices, both were unacceptable to Yi Qing Luo. But unfortunately, he wanted her to accept such a choice now. He wanted to destroy Yi Qing Luo's self-righteous goodness. He wanted to dye Yi Qing Luo black. He wanted Yi Qing Luo to become like him, a person in the dark, her own death, or to let a puppet who stood in opposition to her and had completely forgotten his feelings die. Huang Weiyou's eyes were filled with a hint of madness. Every man for himself, my darling daughter. He's just a killing tool, without any feelings now. Can't you do it? Yi Qing Luo held her glower flame fan horizontally, blocking Gu Jingyu's fierce attack. Every move was directed toward her heart. That pair of dark eyes, without any light, was a void of spirit. If she continued to hide like this, after a long time, she would be the one to suffer. She took a step back, once again avoiding Gu Jingyu. She looked at Yi Qing Luo and sneered. Are you sure? You want me to kill him? Her fingers gripped the glower flame fan tightly. Her bright glass-like pupils, at this moment, seemed to be shrouded in a trace of haze, making one unable to see the emotions within. The young girl's dark red lips curled up slightly as she spat out a few words with a hint of mockery. If I kill him, no one will be able to stop me from sealing you completely or making you completely disappear from this world. If I can seal you, using his life to exchange is not impossible. Just like what you said, the current Gu Jingyu is just an empty shell without feelings, I believe. He is not willing to be like this, living like a walking corpse. The young lady's indifferent tone said indifferently. There wasn't much emotion in her voice, but it made Huang Weiyou stop laughing. Huang Weiyou frowned slightly, as if he could not believe that the young girl would say such a thing. He also couldn't believe that the young girl could still analyze things calmly, like Zitz at this time. Their eyes met. One pretended to be cold and emotionless to hide the turbulent emotions in his heart. One's heart was in turmoil, and he was full of guesses. No one noticed, after hearing the young girl's words, the puppet, with a face as gentle as jade and eyes without the slightest hint of emotion. Little by little, the pair of hollow and dim eyes flashed with a faint, eerie light. It was fleeting. Amidst this silent atmosphere, suddenly, the sound of countless chaotic footsteps approached quickly. The first to enter was Zhu Wu Xian, who was supported by Huan Luo. The man, who had always been calm and indifferent, was now leaning on Huan Luo in a sorry state. His face was pale, and his forehead was covered in cold sweat. His breathing was obviously heavy. The man's cold eyes sized up Yi Qing Luo from top to bottom when he saw her. He confirmed that the girl was not injured. Only then did he heave a sigh of relief. When she saw him, Yi Qing Luo frowned. Zhu Wu Xian, what are you following me for? This place was where Huang Weiyou was sealed. It was filled with danger. Based on Zhu Wu Xian's current condition, even if he was to stand here, it would be extremely strenuous. Chapter 52:48. Isn't the reason why young patriarch came here because of you? Huan Luo originally held a grudge against Yi Qing Luo, and now that she heard Yi Qing Luo's obviously unhappy words, she couldn't control her emotions. For her, young patriarch disregarded his own health and rushed over forcefully, but met with such treatment from Yi Qing Luo. What right did Yi Qing Luo have? It was merely because of young patriarch's fondness. When Yi Qing Luo heard that, her slender brows creased even tighter. She ignored Huan Luo as she looked toward Zhu Wu Xian, and her voice sounded a little disapproving. Zhu Wu Xian, you know very well what kind of condition your body is in. What can you do to help me by forcing yourself to come in. Yi Qing Luo's words were impolite, although her tone was calm, and there wasn't any intention to go against him. But in Huan Luo's ears, it was Yi Qing Luo's disdain towards her young patriarch. She was just short of understanding that her young patriarch was a burden. Thinking of young patriarch dragging his dispirited body and rushing over to this dangerous place, just because he was worried about Feng Qing Luo, Huan Luo instantly felt that it wasn't worth it. The anger in her heart rose to the peak at this moment. Why did young patriarch become like this? Isn't it all because of you? If it wasn't for you who poisoned young patriarch, how could young patriarch possibly be so weak? Huan Luo stood in front of Zhu Wu Xian, blocking Yi Qing Luo's slightly squinted, seemingly displeased gaze. Her face was cold as she continued speaking sternly. Even though young patriarch's body is so weak, because he was worried about you, he forcefully endured the discomfort of his body and came in to ensure your safety. It's fine if you don't know how to be grateful, but why do you have to say such words to hurt young patriarch? Huan Luo. Zhu Wu Xian's voice was slightly hoarse as he berated her sternly. Huan Luo bit her lower lip tightly as she had no intention to move. These words, if not for me, young patriarch is filled with emotions, big sister Feng, great divine phoenix would definitely not know about it. Or perhaps you're pretending not to know. She intentionally emphasized on the terms big sister Feng, great divine phoenix, in a mocking tone. Young patriarch isn't good at using words to express his inner feelings. He's not good at expressing himself. So even if he did so many things, you still can't see it. Huan Luo clenched her fists tightly as she straightened her body, as though she was bearing an immense pressure. Let her suffer. But at the same time, he stubbornly wanted to vent his anger. Yi Qing Luo, do you even have a heart? Do they have eyes? Can't you see what young master has done for you? Yi Qing Luo kept silent. It was only after Huan Luo had finished shouting hysterically that she slowly fixed her gaze on Huan Luo. Her eyes were calm, and not much emotion could be seen from them. That pair of long and narrow eyes rippled with a quiet and serene light. Just by meeting her gaze, one would feel an indescribable sense of fear. First, Yi Qing Luo's pink lips moved slightly. Her voice was also very indifferent. He was poisoned because his skills were not up to par, so he only has himself to blame. The first person to poison was Zhu Wuxin. He failed to poison her and was poisoned by her instead. How could he blame her? Didn't she just stand there obediently and let him poison her? She was not a fool. As for the fact that Zhu Wuxin would be poisoned, she did not regret it. Don't say that it wasn't the right time for her to poison him. Remember one thing. The first person to make a move was Zhu Wuxin, whereas she was merely giving him a taste of his own medicine. Yi Qing Luo's long and narrow eyes rose slightly as she opened her mouth once again. Second, the people from Illusion Tribe hesitated for a moment before pulling Huan Luo to their side. Yi Qing Luo didn't say a word as she silently looked at these illusory clansmen who were flocking over. Actually, this was the difference between love and not love. Zhu Wuxin loved her, so he was so obsessed with her that even though she had rejected him several times, he still couldn't get rid of his obsession with her. Huan Luo loved him, so she wholeheartedly stood on his side, feeling angry for him. It wasn't worth it. But she didn't love Zhu Wuxin, so towards Zhu Wu Xian's efforts, other than gratitude, or difficulty or perplexity, she had no other emotions. To the extent that when Zhu Wu Xian refused to listen to her rejection, she pestered him several times. Seventh Miss who likes trash. Overlord, please be gentler with your love. Seventh Miss who likes trash. Overlord, please be gentler with your love. Chapter 5250. At that time, she was only left with trouble. Just like how Zhu Wu Xian didn't love Huan Luo, So when Huang Luo showed concern and felt unfair for him, his heart wasn't moved at all, and instead he was filled with murderous intent. In love, there was no right or wrong. There was only love and not love. You all really don't put this seed in your eyes. A sinister voice was heard from the side. Huang Wuyo's twisted and horrifying face was filled with pain. Under the coquettish flames, it became more and more terrifying. His sinister and sharp gaze shifted towards Gu Jingyu as he sternly gave an order. Gu Jingyu, what are you still in a daze for? Do it, kill all of them, and dig out my precious daughter's profound heart jade, and offer it to me. As he opened his mouth to speak, the profound yin qi, which had been swallowed by the raging flames, started to slowly spread out again. The profound yin qi gradually thickened. The expression on Huang Wuyo's face became more and more painful and sinister, as though he was suffering from an extreme pain. Yiqing Luo knew that Huang Wuyo's current situation was totally fighting against the poison in his body, and even the deepest part of his soul. What made Yiqing Luo astonished was Huang Wuyo could actually endure so much. Enduring till now, he still had extra energy to spend on her. But after Huang Wuyo gave the order, that puppet-like Gu Jingyu didn't attack at the first instance. He stood there in a daze, lowering his head, as though he was thinking about something. Thinking? Yiqing Luo went into a slight blank. How would a puppet know how to think? But the current Gu Jingyu indeed looked like he was in a state of thinking. Moreover, he didn't act immediately after hearing Huang Wuyo's order like before. She congealed for a moment, as her long and narrow eyes squinted, as she sized up Gu Jingyu uncertainly. Could it be? Just as Yiqing Luo had some thoughts, as it flashed past her mind, Huang Wuyo's sharp voice exploded once again. Gu Jingyu, kill! That man who had lowered his head suddenly raised his head. His face, which was as gentle as jade, was devoid of any emotion. A cold glint faintly flashed across those seemingly clear yet emotionless eyes of hers. Fleeting, it was so fast that Yiqing Luo felt that she had seen an illusion. In the next instant, the man who had been standing still made his move. Yiqing Luo couldn't think of anything else. He doesn't have any thoughts. Protect your young master. Don't bother about me. She didn't know if it was because of her voice. After Gu Jingyu moved, his speed was extremely fast as he directly attacked in Zhu Wuxin's direction. He didn't even glance at Yiqing Luo from the corner of his eyes. Yiqing Luo only hesitated for a moment and speedily made a decision as she headed towards the direction of that stone tablet, closing in once again. The illusion race had arrived just in time, and Gu Jingyu's target was placed on them, which was just right. She took the opportunity to study the stone tablet. It would be best if she could strengthen Huang Wuyo's seal. Darling daughter, don't belittle your father. Huang Wuyo saw through Yiqing Luo's intention with one look as he sneered sinisterly. Following his sinister smile, cold and gloomy mysterious yin qi surged over. Yiqing Luo's peripheral vision was shrouded by a patch of dense black yin qi. She immediately retreated, distancing herself from the stone tablet. The dense, mysterious yin qi instantly covered the surface of the stone tablet. At the same time, a black figure gradually revealed itself from within the mysterious yin qi. His black robe fluttered as though black smoke was floating. Trash, seventh young mistress. Lord Dizun, please be gentler with your love. Trash, seventh young mistress. Lord Dizun, please be gentler with your love. Chapter 52-51. That was a figure condensed from the profound yin qi. That revealed face. It was Huang Wuyo. After Yiqing Luo avoided the stone tablet, she raised her eyes to take a look at that figure and immediately looked at the sealed Huang Wuyo. Under the entanglement of the raging flames, Huang Wuyo's face looked even more terrifying and bloodless. He obviously had such a gentle face, but it was malevolent and sinister. When he met Yiqing Luo's gaze, That pair of treacherous dark eyes started to emit a deep and gloomy coldness. He grinned and laughed sinisterly. Yiqing Luo frowned tightly. Don't think that Huang Wuyo looked very complacent and safe and sound. But Yiqing Luo was certain. He was just forcing himself to be brave. He was poisoned and corroded by the seal. He had already used up all his energy. Now, he even used his mental power to condense a doppelganger. No matter how strong Huang Wuyo was, or how strong his mental power was, right now, his body and mind must be completely empty. From the state of this doppelganger Huang Wuyo, she could tell that he was already straining himself. Previously, the doppelganger Huang Wuyo had formed. It was an independent existence. It possessed an independent body and could move freely. But the doppelganger Huang Wuyo now, it was condensed from the profound Yin Shi. Its body was shrouded in the hazy, profound Yin Shi and was unable to form. Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes narrowed dangerously as a sharp glint flashed in her eyes. If, taking advantage of this moment to defeat Huang Wuyo's doppelganger, it would definitely cause him a heavy injury. By then, while Huang Wuyo had no way to resist, she would completely seal him. She would definitely succeed. That lad can't be relied on. This seat will personally take your profound heart jade. The doppelganger laughed sinisterly. That malevolent face was filled with greed. His gaze was like a venomous snake, staring straight at Yiqing Luo's heart. The profound Yin Shi encircled his body as it revolved crazily. The divine phoenix profound heart jade that has been nurtured by you for so long must be the best nourishment. With this profound heart jade of yours, it will definitely give me endless power. It will allow me to directly break through this damned seal and break out of this cocoon. Huang Wuyo's impassioned voice rang out. The doppelganger grinned sinisterly. Under the burning of the enchanting flames, it seemed extremely cold. It was a chilling scene. The dense, black, mysterious Yin Shi surged like waves and lingered around the doppelganger's body, causing the doppelganger to emit a piercingly cold and terrifying aura. It looked like a black dragon. It could open its bloody mouth and swallow her at any time. Yiqing Luo had long been filled with vigilance towards the doppelganger. When the doppelganger moved, he had already made the most direct response. She stomped her feet on the ground, and the peach blossom black-haired girl instantly bounced up like a spring. The glowing flame fan in his hands also quickly turned into countless sharp blades that were condensed from strong, profound energy, forming wave after wave of surging waves in midair, perfectly and accurately evading the doppelganger's attack and retaliating. Two bursts of energy clashed against each other in the sealed space of the raging flames, giving off a loud, crackling sound. After this exchange, Yiqing Luo was almost certain this doppelganger's power was much weaker than the two doppelgangers she had seen previously. Moreover, this doppelganger needed profound Yin Shi to be formed. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.